Hello there and welcome to the Suzuka 2 hours to the next special event on RaceRoom Racing Experience with the GT3 cars, and we're really looking forward to this race, promising a lot of action. My name is Wiesenmüller, and today for commentary I am joined by the wonderful Mike Bell.
Thanks for that, Rob. I'm really looking forward to this 2 hours around Suzuka, which is a brilliant track in GT3s, which are always producing fantastic racing. Looking forward to it and glad to be joining you in the commentary.
Yeah, so we've got the Suzuka circuit here. Nice air temperature, nice track temperature as well. Sunny and dry as always on RaceRoom. So good racing conditions for these drivers. 32 drivers on the server right now. We're expecting up to 36 in the top split, but there are actually 3 servers running parallel at this time. As always in the special events, everyone who enters the qualifier can also join the race.
Yeah, it always provides a great level of talent all the way up and down. You'll always find somebody to be able to race with. Always good to see formats like these giving everybody a chance rather than just the elite that will get in through the timed pre-qualifying events.
Here we can see the overview of the practice times. Currently at the top of the field, a Ford Mustang.
Yeah, always great to see. It's a bit of a 50-50 car, is the Mustang. All straight line, not much corner, but around Suzuka it's pretty much a 50-50 track, so I'd imagine it'll be a bit of a sitting duck in Sector 1, but an absolute monster around the rest of the circuit.
Yes, Mike Stockman making his official RaceRoom competition debut here. Driving for ESR. ESR, of course, a big community running races, especially in the American time zones. Great to see him here in the first position, and then obviously a Mercedes. As always in the GT3 event, second place Luca Scalari, also a debutant, driving for Absolute Motorsport.
So I think I'm right in saying that Mike Stonfield, his time on the practice session so far is actually better than the time he set to qualify for this event, so he's definitely looking on form. But yeah, as you said, the ever-present Mercedes, you know, no matter what GT3 grid you look at all over the world, all over the sim racing world, there's always a Mercedes up there.
Yes, especially in RaceRoom, these cars have been very present on the online leaderboard, so present that we added a little bit of ballast weight for this race. 35 kilos for the Mercedes, 10 kilos for the Corvettes, which are also on the server, but still sitting in the pit lane at the moment. So maybe let's have a look at the Audi here. This is Marius 30, the fastest of the Audis at the moment. Plenty of Audis, a lot of them in this yellow and blue livery. 30 Plachter and Jerome Weiland, who's participated in a lot of special events as well. This Audi, but we've got more drivers here. Crocker, for example, in the KFC Audi.
That's my favorite looking Audi right there for Gian Claudio Croce. It's you know, KFC Audi. It's a bit different from the others, so nice variety. Hopefully it goes well today.
Porsche represented on the grid as well. Benedek in the Porsche currently sitting in 3rd position, and I think we can get the manufacturer symbols up in the list. There we go. You see lots of Benz, of course, on RaceRoom at the moment, but also Porsche in the top 3. Benedek won the special event at Bathurst a couple of months ago, but also GTR Iceman, obviously from Austria, driving in the Porsche as well. This car that we've got here... Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but just wanted to jump to this car because it's so nice, and it won the last event, the BMW Z4. Some called it an old-timer already in these RaceRoom competitions. But Johannes Weiss showed last time that the best days of these cars are not really past. Still very competitive, and George Derveda, one of the RaceRoom routiniers here, has chosen to race this car for the special event. We've also got an M6, Attila Dina currently in the pit lane. We've got some McLarens who could be quite good at Suzuka.
Yeah, mid-engine McLaren, good weight distribution should help it a lot up the snake, and you can see Villamaro, currently P16, and right in and amongst the mix of the times. Just on the 2 minutes 0.8 to 2 minutes time, you have an Audi, a Merc, a big BM, a McLaren, another Audi. So all those right in together.
That's the Corvette, Valentino Adams, always in the same car, the driver from South Africa. I think he wanted to lap this Mercedes through here. So we have a nice variety. A lot of different cars, lots of different drivers. One driver who's won a special event before. That's Balint Benedek. A couple of them have won races in lower servers in previous special events or esports competitions, but Benedek is the only one, I would say, he's got a true RaceRoom competition victory under his belt. So let's see if he can repeat that.
The absolute top quality driver. If I had to pick someone coming into this, he's done it before. You know, Benedek would be my pick to win, but you never know. Qualifying's still to come, and it could all be shaken on its head.
That's true, and even though he hasn't won a race, this guy here, Georg Ortner, he's got plenty of experience as well, and he's also streaming the race from his point of view. You can look it up on YouTube, Georg Ortner, also streaming from his point of view, so you can watch both if you have two screens.
Yeah, Georg's been around pretty much since the beginning of the RaceRoom esports scene, and even before then, he's always been up at the front, an ever-present name there. Good yardstick to judge pretty much anybody else by is Georg Ortner.
Yes, and at the moment he's, well, I would say about 7/10 behind Stockman. He's doing a fantastic time in the Mustang there. 3/10 ahead of Scalari. Very good. Let's talk about the strategy for these races. We've got 2 hours coming up. Not quite 2.4 like last time. Last time we had these different pit stop strategies, 2-stop or 1-stop. I think this time it's a bit easier for the drivers to go with the 1-stop.
Yeah, it's, you know, 1-stop right on the half and half mark. Yeah, potentially some of the more tire-weary cars could push harder, go for that 2-stop, but I doubt we'll see that. Not at least by planned 2-stop. Obviously, you can never account for anything or everything in a strategy, but most, I'm sure, will plan the 1-stop.
Just jumping on board with Georg Ortner here. We won't be able to do a full lap in the practice session, but we can see most of it here. As we go through one of the most difficult corners on the circuit, 130, yeah, very easy to get track limits as well on the exit, and potentially a slowdown penalty. Paseo triangle. And that's here, the start-finish straight. It's not really a straight in the beginning, but that's actually where the lap starts. At the second bridge.
Very long run down into turn 1, great for slipstreaming, great for the high-speed cars. Late on the brakes, but kind of don't even really use the first apex. You always set up for the second one, and Ortner there tucks in tight before exiting out and up the snake, which is one of the most iconic sequences of corners in motorsport worldwide. Through the left, through the right, next left, over the crest into the next right, where the car can get unstable because you're going over a crest, down the hill, and then open it back up as Ortner gets on the entry curve a little bit, bounces out wide. Going to hold it round Dunlop, and on the run down towards the Degners, which are Degner 1, possibly the most annoying corner on this track to get right. You need a big chunk of curb and avoid bouncing out wide. And then slow down Degner 2, use the exit curve, and on the run up towards the hairpin. Light right-hand kink, and Ortner back into the garage, which is going to signal the start of qualifying, I believe, Rob.
I think we've still got 30 seconds to go, so maybe Mike Stockman can pick us up where we left. There's no cockpit camera on this car, which is a bit disappointing, but this car has been so long in RaceRoom. It was built before the time where cockpit cameras existed, at least for broadcasting. You can still do the race from the cockpit, but we can, you know, watch the rest of the lap here from the outside camera view and hear this brutal sound of this Ford Mustang.
The absolute monster of an engine in that thing. Great sound, absolutely terrifying when one of those comes up behind you, but he's coming around spoon, gets the back end out, but this is where the Mustang's going to be super strong on the way down to 130R.
Now we go into the qualifying session. 20 minutes of qualifying, 20 minutes time to set your lap time, and one of the yellow Audis was out first. So let's see who that is. I think that is Jerome Violent, who's usually in the Mercedes. Switch to the Audi for this race.
Yeah, always a bit of a rush. It helps to get out on track first. You're the first guy out. You don't have anybody your way. I mean, Suzuka is not exactly the smallest track in the world, but definitely one where traffic can play a part if you catch it in the wrong section. So Violin with a clear track ahead of him is going to be helpful. And if you notice, whoever it was that came out behind him, I think I'm not sure who it was actually. That's one of the BMWs.
I think it's Dina.
Yeah, he's back right off to give himself some room for in case Weiland does make a mistake, he doesn't get affected. So solid strategy already from Diner.
Jerome Weiland, of course, he's driving in one of the biggest German communities for RaceRoom, VGT. And usually we see him in the Mercedes, especially at the special event at the Nordschleife, where he had a very prolific performance, where he was leading the race in the beginning, but then made a mistake coming out of the carousel section, spun his car, and then picked up some damage. So he changed cars, changed the strategy this time, also found the button to flash his lights, and maybe some better luck this time for him. At Spa it was actually very good, because there he finished in the top 5.
A prevalent performer there, definitely able to run up at the front, but he's going to have to, I think the fair bet for pole right now will be the Mustang of Stockman, but Weiland coming down now to start the first flying lap of the session. Through 130R, got to be doubly cautious to not pick up any silly slowdowns that ruin your first flyer. Through the Casio triangle, and then leashed down through last curve and onto the main start-finish straight to start the lap.
He's revving very high in the Audi here. Trying to get all of its potential out. Not fast on the straight, this Audi, but it's very good, especially in the slow corners. Oh, he missed the apex a little bit, but gets it in the late apex. Just a bit of time, but it was still kind of okay. Decent line here.
Say it's opening now up down on the run towards the Degners, and this is the next couple of corners should be where the Audi's really strong through Degner 2 and the hairpin. This is where he's going to need to absolutely rinse it to make up some time. You can see pushing hard through Degner 1, through Degner 2 as well, on the run down to the hairpin.
Looks very stable. Oh, I think he missed a shift there. That sounded very strange. Or maybe it was just the sound reflecting from the bridge, but either way, 50.1 in the first sector. Let's just have a look at Stockman, what his first sector is. He hasn't even started his lap. Still quite a long way down. Let's jump back to Weiland then.
Quite narrow through Spoon. Ordinarily you'd be used to seeing cars run a bit more towards the right hand curve, but perhaps this line works for the Audi, so you can get it on the exit and on the run out, and he's going to need every little bit of that run. As alluded to, Audi not the fastest car on the straights, but down towards 130R he's going to need to get every little horsepower out of that thing that he can. And then through 130R, late braking into the Casio triangle. Seemed to miss the first curve just a hair, which could have cost him a little bit, but through the second and third parts of it, all good. And then hugged tight towards the pit wall on the way down. The fact he does it probably means he's going for another flyer. Not happy with that one. But across the line he goes, and we can definitely see that the car behind's a lot closer, unless that's Ortner that's... I don't know, Ortner just closed in on him. So great lap from Ortner there already to take provisional pole.
2 minutes and 1,000 for Georg Ortner. That's provisional pole ahead of Scolari. Let's see what Reisig can do in another of the yellow and blue Audis. He's purple, and that's a very, very strong lap. Oh, he lost it all in the final sector. That's surprising.
Maybe a slight error under braking for the triangle.
Oh yeah, there you can see the error. Marcelo Caserta.
Purple in sector 1, green sector 2, sector 3 is going to put him third. And only just slightly above a 10th off a provisional pole, but Donfield should be coming around to finish his lap soon. But Villamaro's purple in sector 1. They go running all the way out to the outside of Spoon. That's the line you more expect to see.
Jaco Stoffmail because he's about to cross the line. That's a good lap.
Pole position.
59.5. Wow.
You see, before he went across the line, Rob, he wasn't purple in sector 1, but absolutely mid sector 2. So again, the first sector not necessarily where the Mustang's going to be strongest, but that will mean we'll be seeing a lot of purple sector 1s coming in soon.
Mauro also with a mistake in the Casio triangle. in this
Gonna
McLaren.
continue the
Should be a 2-minute time. Up to P5, very
5.
close there between Ortner and I would say up to Gemeinhardt in 8th.
About a quarter of a second separating 2nd to 8th, and Donfield just nailed that first lap right there. Softmeal, sorry.
Benedek now, also purple in the first sector, no surprise there. Second sector line now on the straight, and he's already lost some time, but in this corner he should be able to regain a little bit of that time that he lost. And especially here in the Casio triangle.
Using all of the first 2 curbs. Again on the exit, you can tell if he thinks it's a good lap, he'll hug tight to the pit wall, and sure enough he does. Benedek taking the shortest run to the line, and he is going to put that Porsche into 2nd place provisionally on a 59.915, so the 2nd driver below the 2-minute barrier, but still a couple of tenths to stop me.
You can just see the huge difference between these cars, with Mauro being over 3.5 tenths up in the first sector.
He's got a nice toe as well from the BMW. If he can get the run and the BMW gets a nice run as well, Mauro could be in the money seat here, because he's going to get a huge BMW-sized slipstream all the way down to 130R. And the BM good on the straight, the McLaren slightly less so, and he's just going to be pulled along. So Villamaro could end up getting a nice time here if he can just stay in. The BMW runs slightly wide ahead of us. He's going to close all the way up under braking for the Casio triangle. The BMW runs wide again. That's going to impact Mauro's exit, I think.
Ah, he gets blocked here.
That's unfortunate for Villamaro. That's showing the pros and cons of traffic in one quick clip. As Mauro, I think he did cross the line, but the lap didn't improve. Another purple sector 1 from Pavlicek. He's in spoon right now. Gets a nice late apex on the exit. Uses all the available exit curb. Then the Mercedes strong on a straight. Probably one of the few cars that can almost live with the Mustang on this grid on the run down to 130R, and he's down, but not by much. At least if that's what I'm seeing is correct. And
I
now
think
he's
it's
just got
over half a second.
Oh, okay. Timing screen, I couldn't work out if it was a 0 or a 5, but Pavlicek, even if he's half a second down, he's still in a good money seat for a top 10. And across the line he's going to go, and he's going to move himself up into 10th place. In the Corvette. And Ortner on another purple sector 1. So that's going to be messing with people's heads, isn't it? That they're going to be so far up in sector 1, but then down at the end of every lap.
Meinhardt has gone up to 2nd now. And I think one of the Mercedes is having a lot of ping problems at the moment there. One of the yellow cars could be Gemeinhardt, but it's not. Maybe it's Hervé Freiture. That's also not, so probably this guy just disconnected. That had the lag issue there. Nice time from Ortner.
Yeah, the gap being inched closer from Ortner to Stoffmeal. That's Stoffmeal on an outlap. He drops back a little bit. He could potentially grab even better straight line with a slipstream from the Mercedes ahead of him. One of the man filters, I think that's Freiture.
Yes, let's see from Freiture how much the Mustang is catching up on the straight. Ah, he's lifting.
Yeah, he got to give himself a gap.
Another yellow Mercedes, but it's not a man filter. That's the FIFA livery, Jens Fiedler, up to P9.
Another right in on that 2 minute 0.1.2 battle. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 cars within 700ths right now. Caserta, Mauro, Scolari, and Fiedler.
It could be one more because look at that first sector from Marcus Royce. Just a bit of time in the second sector, but it's still good. Could still put him right into the top 5.
Just got to get a good run through, and I think that was Ortner pulling off in front. No, it wasn't. It was Woodsy. But Royce, bang, he's going to hug it tight to the pit wall. Oh, he's not. He might be going for another run, Rob.
Let's see what the time says. P5, nice lap.
I reckon he'd have been at least P3 if he'd have held it to that pit wall. Just look how close he is to even to Ortner in second. But to Gemeinhardt in third, he's only 300ths off, and yeah, he's gonna go back to the pits, have another go. Domfeel up on his time again. You can see now the clear track in front that he worked at, and then just opening up the Mustang along the long straights on the way down to Spoon. Not the best on the brakes, but, you know, that's what you'd expect from something that's as quick as it is on the straights.
Also quite heavy, of course. Very American style car, overall. Not your typical GT3. Oh, and as Fiedler goes up to P4.
A good lap.
Better lap from Stockman, though.
Still purple. Gets a nice chunk of entry curb. Runs the middle curb quite nicely, and then on the exit, he's just going to hug it tight. Oh, no, he's not. He's going to go around wider. Stockman going to cross the line and going to... That improve? Yeah, it looks an improvement. Or at least all the sectors were purple.
Yeah, he's still on a 59.5. I'm not sure if his overall time really improved or if it was just a timing bug there. Either way, he's
maybe
still
hit
sitting.
The same, maybe hit it to the same 1,000. Who knows? Benedict's up again.
And it's gonna be frustrating because he can see this huge gap over 3/10 once again in the first sector. Now he comes over the second sector line and he's just down. If he gets this braking zone perfectly, he could jump up to second place. Oh, but he turns in very early. That could be track limits. Just on the edge. Let's see if this this time still counts.
He's sticking with it. Tugging the pit wall. Benedek in the Porsche across the line goes third. And at 0.861, so barely behind Ortner. Up onto the second row, making it 3 different manufacturers in the top 3.
Meinhardt was also strong in the first sector, but not quite on course for an improvement here. He's a driver who's been in a lot of racing competitions, been a finalist in the Mercedes e-racing competition in, I think it was 2017 when we had the Games World rookie competition. In P4, one of the guys with the most experience on the grid. Let's see if it will be P3 when he crosses the line. It will be even P2.
Good lap from Gemeinhardt there, putting himself up on the front row. Still on a 0.7 though, so still 2/10 to find, and 5.5 minutes left. That's time enough for another run at least, so should hopefully be seeing more times dropping.
Yeah, and with all of that, the McLaren of Villamauro has even dropped out of the... almost out of the top 10, still in 10th position, but with a superb first sector. And that's of course where the car shines.
I mean, you say just out holding on to the top 10. Scolari behind him is but thousandths back in 11th. But from second place Gemeinhardt down to 11th place Scolari is just over 4/10 of a second. So it's anyone's game at this point.
Second sector, he's down on the Mustang. He's still kind of close, so with the good 130R, that looked pretty good. And a good braking zone into the Casio triangle here, which also looked pretty good. He could jump up a few places.
He's gonna stick it by the looks of it. Hugging it really tight to the pit wall, tight as we've seen of anybody. Villamauro gonna on the run to the line. He's going to jump up to third.
Wow, that's nice.
Good lap from
performance
the
by
Finn.
him. Here's the next Italian, Luca Scolari. Just crossed the line, but no improvement despite the personal best second sector. Manu was second in practice. Now only in P11. Right behind him is Valentin Barrière. It's also very American style. Audi R8 LMS. It's a Stevenson Motorsports livery. Let's check
He's gonna have a nice toe. He's got that Mercedes in front of him. Not sure who that is. It's one of the man filter cars, but that's 3 of them on the server. So it could be Gemeinhardt, could be Fratture, could be Trefts. But the Audi's definitely going to get a tow, which is going to help comparatively weak straight line against the Mustang.
That Mercedes almost lost it there on the exit of Spoon. You have to jump to Georg Ortner though, because he's purple in the first sector by a huge amount as well. And he's got Stoffmill right behind him.
That gap looks pretty close. I wonder if they started the lap nose to tail, but the Mustang might drive back into the slipstream of the Mercedes here.
Second sector very close. Has to brake a bit for 130R, not using all of the curb on the exit. In fact, the Mustang has closed up quite a bit in this section there.
Will they be at the line? Look like Ortner's run out quite wide, going for another run, I reckon. Drops to 5th and then 5th.
Stoffmill improved again, and it was Marius 30. Just goes straight into the barrier after finishing his lap in the Audi up to P2.
A great run from the Audi there.
Benedek abandons the qualifying. Only P6 for the Porsche driver, and it could be worse because Fiedler is on a personal best, even on an overall best in the first sector, but by not quite as much as we would probably expect him to be in the Mercedes.
He's got some clear track ahead of him. The time, this is going to be their last laps. And Fiedler looking strong. Looking certainly strong for an improvement. Purple sector 1, green sector 2.
Probably on a very low wing setup here. Doesn't gain much in the first sector, but gains a lot in the second sector actually. A lot faster than the other Mercedes is there.
He's staying in the middle of the road. Across the line goes Fiedler. Day 7th.
Just checking back on our Z4 as none of the leaders are still on a lap. Scolari the only one who's quite far at the front, who can improve his time maybe. Veda struggling a bit here in the Z4, only P30. Fastest BMW M6 is in P19 now as Vigoni has just jumped Attila Dina.
Yeah, Fagoni, 2 minutes, 0.9, you know, just outside of a second off of that second place. So second to the 19th, really, within 1.2. As there's someone getting all out of shape behind Rosaire and spinning, I think that's Fiedler.
Rosaire, one of the last ones, still on a lap, but I don't think we will see any moving in the time here. So Mike Stoffmill in the Ford Mustang, the only Ford Mustang on the grid, is going to take the pole position here ahead of Marius 30.
Always great to see an interesting car on pole. It was it last time out at Spa, Rob, where the Glickenhaus took pole, which is my favorite car from this pack. Always good to see there.
So here we've got confirmation of the results. Stoffmill ahead of Dreisig, then Gemeinhardt in the Mercedes, Mauro in the McLaren, Ortner in another Mercedes, then Benedek in the fastest Porsche, Fiedler, Reus, Caserta, all Mercedes, with Pavlicek running out the top 10 in the Corvette, and now we've got the race coming up. Going to be 2 hours of racing action here in Suzuka.
I'm saying the drivers now, they've got no warm-up session, which is the RaceRoom way. It's straight from qualifying into racing. That has to take a slightly different mindset into it, because of course qualifying you're only thinking lap time, but in the race, certainly in cars like the Mustang, you're going to have to be far more concerned about how your tires are getting on. So we're reckoning it's a one-stop for everybody, but a push hard 2-stop strat might be under consideration for some of the higher tire wear cars, I would reckon. But
Yeah.
we're gonna be going green soon.
Haven't seen the Mustang on tire wear at all because it never participates in these races usually. Let's see how it will behave over the race. You can hear the engines revving. Won't be long until the lights go red. And there we go. Lights are red. And the lights are out. We are racing here. It looks like a very decent start from Stockman there at the front of the field.
He's done what he needs to do, got to turn 1 first. Can he hold it up the snake as Dreisig slides up into second? Dropping and changing all the way through as we're jump on board. I think that's GTR Iceman we're looking at now as he's been caught out on the outside, getting a bit freight trained as someone's off in the background.
That was Kevin the Vogt. I think Robert Wutzi has been off as well. Couple of cars off, but a reasonably clean start here. Now you can see immediately how much pressure the Audi can apply in the first sector on the Ford Mustang of Mike Stockman.
Mustang's a big car, it takes up a lot of road, going to be difficult to get around it going up the snake, but that's possibly the weakest point for the Mustang, unless the Audi can maybe send one up into the hairpin potentially, but quite an early point in the race to try something so brash. But look at it, the Mustang just walking away on corner exits. And now Dreisig's probably going to be more thinking about looking in his rear view mirrors because he's got Gemeinhardt in the AMG going to be closing up to him, certainly on the way up to Spoon. And he's going to be bringing the McLaren and Villamaro along with him.
It will be crucial for Dreisig to stay in the slipstream here, so that he can catch up the time that he loses once again in the first sector. Closest to making a move at the moment, actually Caserta and Fiedler, same cars.
It's like Caserta, they both got the slipstream. I don't think Caserta's going to be able to do anything into 130R, but potentially down into turn 1. Looks like the top 8 is starting to ease away slightly from Marcus Royce. Maybe the lack of pressure from Caserta could lead to him trying something, but back to the front. Stoffmeal, just look at that gap, and then look at it. It's going to close all the way up the snake, and then it's just going to open again. It's going to be like a yo-yo for the first few laps, I reckon.
Quite a big gap already for Stoffmeal here. Havlicek looks like he's going to try it, not quite close enough to Barriere. Out of the top 10 in the Corvette. We also lost one of the Corvettes, Valentino Adams, already out of the race.
That's sad to see. First lap of a 2-hour race. Unfortunately, he's not going to be taking any further part because there's an Audi off. That's the KFC Audi of Croce. Gets his way back onto the track just ahead of Gabriele Risso. So, again, 2 hours of racing, plenty of time for him to recover. He's going to be setting off after Romain Lippens.
And look at that Barriere. First he was under attack, now he's the one attacking. Against Marcus Royce in the blue Mercedes, but he's getting held up a little bit there. Havlicek very close to the back of him.
And through the Degners, very, very hard to run side by side through there, but into this hairpin, it's always a good overtaking. And Barriere looked like he got a good exit. He's good on the brakes, but here comes the Corvette out of nowhere. Oh, and the Mercedes slides wide. Barriere could try and stick his nose up the inside of Royce, but nothing doing there. Royce powers out. Barriere is going to have to use the slipstream as one of the Audis goes around.
That's Jerome Violent.
Violent. It's not good, but he's again long race back up, and he's going to be chasing after Antonio Armiento, but he's under attack from Risso. They're good battling all throughout the field. Even down in 26th place, they're fighting pretty hard. As it looks like Luki Trevs started all the way from the back. He's already up into P20, but good start from, as you were saying, Rob, the GT4 driver.
Yes, I think he's got a little bit of a connection issue though, because just as we jumped to him, he disappeared from the server. So that's kind of sad to see. Out of the race now. Call it commentator's curse. Oh.
Unfortunately, I'm really sorry. Who's got past Royce? They both got past Royce, Pavlicek and Barriere.
And Barriere pretty quick on the straights here in this Audi. Pavlicek got the inside line. Let's see who can be later on the brakes. Oh, side by side in the first corner. Nice job. Pavlicek is through though.
Brilliant move. Now can the Audi get on the attack back up the snake? But just in behind, that's Scolari and Plachta going side by side on the way out of the first turn as well. I think it was Plachta attacking Scolari, but nothing came of it. And now just making one move, not making it count. He's lost 6/10 nearly. They set off up the snake.
Scolari's on the move here, attacking Royce immediately. Royce had a very good qualifying, but is struggling a bit now in the race. Oh, and that's an ambitious move here on the outside now, but Royce is giving him the room. Scolari runs a bit wide, but he manages to keep his car under control, and Royce immediately under attack by the next Audi, the car of Plachta. Oh, and Plachta!
Here comes the BMW. The Tiller Diner jumping on an opportunity, but the Audi's going to try and get back up the inside. Going to be left room, but the BMW is going to get a little bit hang out on the exit, and then he's going to be on the way down to Spoon.
Sorry, just to jump there with the camera, but Ortner lost a few positions as well. Dina here lost out the battle against Plachta, now under attack by Figoni. And another of the red and black Mercedes is from the Absolute Motorsport team.
Yes. Persky, the blue one, he's in that train as well, just jumping onto the back of it. Someone else who's very experienced in the RaceRoom esports sense is Thomas Stempersky.
And Barria just lost the place to Scolari.
Scolari very much on the move then. Possibly could be due to the... I think that might have been a mistake from Barrier, because that's a bit more than you'd expect from the Audi versus Mercedes on a straight. Could
have been a slowdown as well. Oh, that's Atzeni. He's off the road.
Hell, neat. Was that on the way into or on the way out of the Casio Triangle?
I'm not sure. Either way, he didn't.
Way out.
Didn't really. It could have been on the way in, and he just slid through the gravel. Either way, dropping back to 26, ahead of GTR Iceman, but behind Ollie Bernd now.
The GTR Iceman's another driver who lost some spots on that last lap. Yeah, it was up the snake. I think he went off. Ahead, Bernd just from a run wide in turn 1. So people making some mistakes early. They're going to need to get into a rhythm. Very race to go. Still 113 minutes left of this 2-hour race, and even though the guys are back here, we're looking at Atzeni still in 26th, you know, a long race to go. Mistakes from others and consistency from him could lead him up into the top 10, where we'd find Pavlicek right now on the back of Fiedler, who's on the back of Caserta in 6th.
Pavlicek, of course, was second fastest in the pre-qualifying on the leaderboard, behind Simone Puglisi, who's not racing today, so technically he was the fastest driver going into this event. And he started a little bit further down than we expected him to start. Now he's making his way up against Jens Fiedler, guy who races in the German virtual racing community. He also has a GT3 league. I think he's in an Audi there though.
Round wide and Spoon though did Fiedler.
Yeah, probably slow down.
Yeah, I was going to say that was a bit more than just a Corvette driving by, and Fiedler, that's a costly slowdown because Ortner's going to go through as well. He's probably going to be able to hold off Scolari, but you know that just shows the time you lose by picking up one of these slowdown penalties from straying just a hair outside of the limits. It's very, very punishing. The drivers got to stay on their toes at all times, but Stoffmehl not necessarily pulling away as far as I'd expect, but driving.
Oh, he's wide!
Ooh,
that could have been really bad. He just manages to save it there.
Just went in a bit too hot by the looks of it, but you know, he needs to get that mistake out of his head, get back into a rhythm, because Dreisig, Gemeinhardt and Maro, they're all right behind him again, and I think he's quite fortunate to rejoin ahead of these guys, because if he'd have rejoined behind them, then he would have had to, you know, sit behind for about half a lap or so, and by the time he got ahead, he wouldn't be able to pull enough of a gap in that Mustang to try and hold it. But Dreisig definitely is the one on the attack now. He's seen Stoffmehl go off, he's smelled blood in the water, and the Audi driver's going to try everything he can to get into the lead.
Oh, late on the brakes here. It's very close.
Oh, slow down. Slow down for Stoffmehl. Possibly, or did he miss a gear?
Could have been a gear miss as well, because he's not really slowing down anymore, but now Gemeinhardt on the outside could take the position as well. Bit of contact here. Gemeinhardt through as well, and that means that Reisig is in the lead in the Audi. Stoffmehl immediately on the attack again. And let's see now how the straight line speed of the Mustang is going to benefit him on the run down to 130. I think he can pass before the corner.
Look at Reisig, by the way. He's giving the toe to Gemeinhardt. At least he was at the first part of the straight. I think trying to get Gemeinhardt to stay ahead of Stoffmehl. But
Stoffmehl just straight through.
Stoffmehl just driving round.
Mauro and the McLarens just staying with this group. Serta and Pavlicek have kind of been dropped. Let's just check with them because they're very close on the braking here. Benedek must
have ahead of Benedek.
Yeah, I think he picked up a slowdown as well.
Benedek in the Porsche, not holding on to that fifth, but look at Stoffmehl just driving up behind the Audi. But now the Audi's going to drive away up the snake, I reckon.
Rear camera from Marius Dreisig's Audi here.
So you just visibly see it, the Mustang, which is a very big car, just getting slightly smaller all the time going up the snake. But behind Stoffmehl, Gemeinhardt's closing right in, and Villamaro, who probably has the best car of the three of those for the first sector, just sat behind him, you know, playing the patience game.
I think the problem for Villamaro is that he really can't pass anywhere with this McLaren. It's good on the brakes, but it's not that good on the brakes. It's really just good in corners. And it's always a little bit harder to pass in the corner.
Indeed, especially when the two cars ahead of you, not small cars either, and they're going to be pulling away from him from every straight, so he's going to have to make up the gap and then some on the brakes, which probably going to require a mistake. Speaking of mistakes, that's Fiedler going around. Not sure if there was contact with Scolari and Barrier, but three of them into one didn't go, and unfortunately Fiedler lost out. Through goes Plachta. Looks like he's going to hold off ahead of Eros Figoni, but Fiedler back to fourth.
Looked like he got a little bit of help there, but it was only a very short time where we could see it. Either way, Scolari to P9 and Barrier already looking once again.
Barrier in the middle of Spoon. That was a bit of a brave place to look, but lost some time on the exit. Side by side in behind these guys, I think it was Ortner and Benedek. Benedek hanging on around the outside of 130R. Good space given by Ortner. Side by side still into the Canto triangle. Ortner's going to go deep to give him the room. Through the second part, Ortner to go on the curb. A little bit of contact between Ortner and Benedek. Benedek's going to pull ahead into 7th, and Ortner's going to be slow to get away. But holding station in 8th place. Just behind the battle between Pavlicek and Caserta. These relatively similar cars. The Corvette probably a bit quicker on the straight, but a bit worse in the corner than the Mercedes. Pavlicek, oh, he's looking on that little tiny little straight between turn 3 and 4. If you're very brave, that's a decent overtaking opportunity, but not going to be pulled off there. Is Jermaine Salesman up to 14. Just behind him is Stankowski and then Denaire, and Caleb Lavender in P17, the American. And I think that's Crotchley on the back of this train as well, yeah, and De Weer there as well. Just behind in the smaller of the BMWs, the Z4.
Yeah, we had a position change here. I think it was Dina who dropped back a little bit. It's a midfield battle. Crocker has been off the track before. He's catching up. Probably a bit faster than the drivers around him. And that's a slowdown penalty for Lavender.
And being smart, being gentlemanly, serving it off of the racing line so as not to impede the other drivers. But De Weer there is going to be right on the rear end. It's going to be an interesting fight to see the new generation of Audi R8 versus the old generation of BMW Z4. Still one of the best looking GT3 cars, though, the old Z4 in my opinion.
Especially one of the best sounding GT3 cars. Also in real life, that car was really loud. And when you hear the M6 now in comparison, it's kind of a bit dull, you know? That Z4 was...
Almost like they should make the opposite noise, shouldn't it? The big car should have the big growly engine, and the little car shouldn't. But either way, good sound, good sight, and in the hands of De Weer.
Ortner, I think Ortner has a problem.
Yeah,
has Ortner been around? And that's Casio Triangle.
It's kind of on his own, so maybe under braking potentially, but not sure. Either way, Plachta goes through, and he's going to do well to hold off Fiedler into turn 1. But Ortner not having the smoothest ride in these last couple of laps. He's dropped from 8th all the way down to 11th. Now going to have to go on and get back ahead of Mirko Plachta and get back into the top 10.
And we've seen it very often. This Mercedes is very fast. And it's not the most stable car in the race, especially with the ballast weight. Wagner has been called out. Even Jaroslav Honzik was called out in the last special event at Spa.
I'll say more weight shifting around. You know, it's going to be like a pendulum effect. As here's Benedek, who also has fallen back behind Scolari and Barrier.
My timing's going crazy at the moment. I'm not sure where to look.
I think it's Plachta maybe having some slight connection that's throwing him all up and down the leaderboard. But he's going to throw his car well deep into the hairpin, and Ortner's going to be side by side on the way out. And the Audi's going to do well to out-drag the Merc here, even with the head start it's going to have gotten from that better run out. Ortner's going to hang on around the outside, or at least he's going to try to. Plachta with the inside line is going to stay ahead, but Ortner's going to throw it in, a la Sebastian Vettel. Not going to work in on the way into Spoon, but with the Mercedes' higher top speed, you'd expect to be side by side on the way into 130R. Plachta's probably going to run quite defensively or put it in the middle of the road. Ortner flashing his lights. Plachta's slowly moving around. Oof, the double move there from Plachta. Ortner chose not to go for it in the end, and they're going to run down into the Casio Triangle. Ortner's just trying to spook Plachta potentially into a mistake, and Plachta does go deep into the first part of the triangle. Going to get a slightly better run off though, but he's going to need to be on the defensive down into turn 1 to keep the Mercedes behind him. Ortner flashing his lights, doing everything to try and intimidate Plachta. Going to move to the inside. Oh, late braking from Plachta. Ortner closes mid-corner. And Plachta runs wide, misses the second apex, which is the more important one at turn 1. Ortner's going to have a sniff, but nothing doing. And now up the snake. The Audi should be somewhat safe, as long as Plachta can hit his mark. And then he's going to need to be back on the defense, I think, on the run down to the Degnus. And say only 20 minutes, not even 20 minutes into this, we've had already so much excitement. Gabriele Rizzo now on the tail of Robert Vuzzi, who started a bit further down. Vuzzi making good progress, and Ollie Bernd is up to P22nd behind him. And Jerome Weiland in there as well, GTR Iceman not far away. So a good battle down towards the back end. Meanwhile, Ortner's ahead, so that's got to have been a mistake through the Degnus or a slowdown from Ita. But either way, Georg Ortner up into 10th place, makes the pass. And you see that huge train that goes in behind, I think is behind Fagoni. But back to this battle. They seem to be locked together, Scolari and Barrier. Scolari stays ahead, Barrier looking. He's oh nudge, Barrier! Gonna half spin, he's gonna hold it. Benedek's gonna go through. But Barrier, I think, got a bit too brave where to put his nose, and it got chopped off.
One guy who's lost plenty of time, that's Marcus Reus. Down to P26.
We were looking around the top 10 earlier, something relatively big must have happened, and he's battling with Antonio Armiento. As meanwhile, there's a change for the lead, briefly. Oh, Stoffmehl went ahead on our timing screen, and then Dreisig went back by, so maybe Stoffmehl picked up a slowdown or so. Not sure either way. This battle is still on. You see 1, 2, 3, 4 close as that, with Marius Dreisig, Mike Stoffmehl, Sasha Gemeinhardt, and Villemaru still in there in the McLaren, just lurking, just waiting. Gemeinhardt really on the attack. You can see Stoffmehl is turn 1 2/10 apart, and at the top of the snake is a second gap between Marius Dreisig and Mike Stoffmehl.
Something must have happened to Robert Vuzzi. This car all the way out of the camera shot. It's out of the final corner, actually, on the start-finish straight.
Odd place to go around by himself unless he got hooked up on the curb or something.
Gemeinhardt!
Gemeinhardt. Villemaru is going to get the run. He's going to be on the outside, so I think Gemeinhardt's going to hold this, but no mistake. has lifted all the pressure off of Mike Stoffmiel for the moment. Now Sasha Gemeinhardt goes from the hunter to the hunted. There's Villamaru right behind him now, having a better run through Spoon. You can see the McLaren just driving up into the shot. He's going to have the slipstream and he's going to have the tow. So he's going to definitely be able to stay with Gemeinhardt. And I'd wager he's going to have a better car, certainly through the next half lap or so. Through 130R. Is able to hold it narrower than Gemeinhardt is. And on the braking for the Casio Triangle, they all close up. Stoffmiel only half a second off the lead, so that could be interesting into turn 1. But Gemeinhardt just going to try and drive away from the McLaren. Oh, the Audi going defensive, Dreisig going big defense. Stoffmiel going to try it around the outside. Always worth a go because you can get back up underneath here. And sure enough, Dreisig's going to slightly miss the apex. Stoffmiel going to think about going for it, but can't get the drive off the corner that the Audi does. But I think that's a wake-up call from Maurice Dreisig. Can't really rest on his laurels anywhere on this track at the moment.
No, and it's a super interesting battle with 4 completely different cars at the front. I guess the Audi and the McLaren are kind of similar. But apart from that, it's very different. Villamaru so close to Sascha Gemeinhardt, but just no way through at the moment.
It's still a long way to go. We've only just passed the 20-minute mark, as that's Jens Fiedler, and that looked like he just swapped ends on him under braking almost and straight off in turn 4.
Going off again.
That looks like potentially damage rear suspension.
Oh, and we've got a lead change. I'm sorry, but we missed it. Didn't expect the Mustang to make a move there at all, but Stoffmiel is back in the lead.
Must have been in on the brakes into Degner maybe. He's got a little bit of a shoot at the top of the snake, and Stoffmiel leads. Dreisig's in second and needs to get back on the attack quickly, or else he's going to fall prey to Gemeinhardt and Villamaru. And Dreisig holding that Audi a lot tighter than everybody else is. Certainly all the other drivers in the top 4 through Spoon. Potentially fearing track limits pinging, but it's definitely losing in time as Gemeinhardt right under the rear wing. Don't think he's going to try anything into 130R, but with a better run could into the chicane. Again, Dreisig holding it tighter than Gemeinhardt. Gemeinhardt using far more track. And they all close in under braking. And then on the way down to the start straight. But look at this. By, what, 1.2 seconds covering the entire top 4 right now? These guys are treating it very much like a sprint race. Just a 2-hour sprint race.
And for the
into
first
turn
time,
1 again.
For the first time in a long time, Stoffmiel can do the first sector without a reference of another driver in front of him. So let's see. He's right back on the pace here, and let's see how much Dreisig can catch up.
I think Dreisig maybe had a bit of a breath of fresh air, because it looked like Gemeinhardt went slightly deep into turn 1. So Dreisig not under attack for the time being. Look at it, he's just going to drive up under that massive spoiler of the Ford Mustang. And then through the top of the snake. You just see it get bigger and bigger and bigger. Just the longer the power is on, the further away the Mustang gets. But Dreisig's going to have to be brave on the brakes, and sure enough, closes in again on the brakes for Degner 2. I think it's going to need to be a combination of Stoffmiel mistake or Dreisig bravery as it stands right now, unless the Mustang's potentially higher tyre wear comes into effect.
We lost a couple of drivers now. Marlin Benedek also out of the race. He was running in the top 5 in the, at least in qualifying for a short moment. Plenty of hard battles in the midfield. Jermaine Salzman trying against Crocker.
Crocker we saw in like 26th place earlier, so after an off, so he's done incredibly well. He's back at 14th, and Attila Denaire not too far away from him. But meanwhile, for second place, Sasha Gemeinhardt on the inside for 130R. Dreisig going to back out, or is he going to try and hold it on? He's going to back out. Gemeinhardt up into second place. Dreisig down to third, and Villamaru right behind. And this is going to be interesting because the Audi and the McLaren, as you said, Rob, of these top 4, possibly the 2 most similar cars. So there's no going to be a big advantage anywhere. But he's pulling away on the straight. Look, obviously Dreisig in the AMG, but Gemeinhardt's going to be pulling him along, and Stoffmehl, just you can see that gap, just yo-yoing from corner to corner. Now tap the brakes, the gap goes down. Tap the throttle, gap goes up.
Oh, with Gemeinhardt in second place, another driver can have a go. Oh. Rear tires of the Audi from 30 are too hot there. That's a problem that occurs quite often in the Audi. It's very fast in the beginning of a stint. Once you overheat the rear tires, it gets very difficult to drive. Oh, just looking a little bit more solid at the moment.
Well, there's that lead gap though, that's definitely come down up the snake. And with AMG in so much closer to the Mustang pace, now Stoffmehl gets the braking right, but look at the gap, it just closes all the way back down again. I think Stoffmehl for the time being though, short of a mistake, he's going to hold on to this. I say, Attila Denaire, I'm not sure if that's the timing screen going funny or if he's under heavy attack from Crocker. But, no, just looked like it was timing screen going funny. Oh, that's why, it's because he's got a slight bit of lag, but Crocker definitely closing the gap, pulling away from Salesman. Just in behind, that's Violent behind Rizzo. Another Mercedes versus Audi battle. They've got GTR Iceman and recovering Jens Fiedler behind them.
Oh, Violent's
Audi
looking!
Goes for it on the inside. Ooh, little bit of contact, but Violent, that was a good opportunity. He's now going to be side by side on the way out. I'd imagine he's going to get leaned on a little bit going around the kinks down towards Spoon, but Violent's going to hold the inside. Ooh, round the outside goes Rizzo. Brakes late, he's going to have to go either fully around or just commit to cutting back. He's gone for the cutback, but Violent doesn't run wide. Now on the way down to 130R. Again, Audi not the fastest in the straight line. Gonna have to go defensive. The Mercedes looking left, looking right, goes back left, goes up the inside. Oh, contact! Very well done from Violent to hold that. Oh no, he didn't hold it. They're off. Violent kept it out of the wall. Rizzo didn't. Through goes GTR Iceman, and I think that was Fiedler as well. Ollie Berndt arriving on the scene. But Violent muscled his way through, and there was no give from Rizzo as well.
I don't think this is really a corner where Rizzo should have tried it there. That was going wrong in almost all of the cases.
It's very optimistic.
Rizzo losing out himself the most after this attempt.
Ooh, we just jumped on board to the battle for 6th and 5th between Caserta and Pavlicek. I've just noticed on the timing screen, Villamaro just lost 4 seconds. So the lead quartet is down to 3, and Villamaro is being closed in on by Caserta. Not sure, that sounds to me kind of slow downy.
Could have been a mistake as well. It sounds, to me it sounds like even more than a slowdown. So maybe he's been off. Turn 1 is a place where you can easily lose that time. Well, could be a slowdown as well, because that line looked more slowdowny to me.
Well, Dreisig's right under the rear wing of Gemeinhardt again.
And that's all helping Stoffmehl.
I think without just because he's in the Mustang and he's in the position he's in right now, Stoffmehl, he's most vulnerable at the snake, where it's just really difficult to overtake. So making a mistake, we should see Stoffmehl lead into the pit stops, I would imagine. But it's during that pit stop phase or towards the end of the first stint where, as you said, we haven't seen the Mustang in this form of competition, you know, so we don't exactly know everything about it. It's still the big variable. Whether its tires can hold up, you know, how much fuel it has to put in to get to the end of the race, because obviously these cars are going to take on a bit of a splash of fuel. Fueling takes time, tire changes take time. Is the Mustang going to take longer? We'll have to wait and see. But for the time being, just under 30 minutes in, and Stoffmehl looking like he's in the lead, but he's hardly breaking away from Gemeinhardt and Dreisig, who are lapping within a tenth or two every lap, even despite their battling. Now through the Degners again. So you can see Gemeinhardt just solid, cool, collected. Dreisig's the one who's pushing to attack, and the Audi's like the small dog chasing after the big Mac. but he's making it work as Stoffmüller goes deep into the hairpin, and that gap's just been cut down by nearly 6/10 in one corner. But then because it's a Mustang, it's going to pull it most of it back again. So about 3/10 loss from Stoffmüller on that one turn. You're going to need to keep mistakes like that to a minimum if he wants to hold on and win this race. But Gemeinhart certainly faster through all the corners, and he seems to be the most consistent of the top three as it stands. Dreisig losing a little bit through there, but Stoffmüller, just look at that Mustang. It's just, you know, it's like scrolling the zoom wheel out on straights.
And just goes and goes and goes, and just no way for Sascha Gemeinhart to really keep up. But even through 130R, he's gaining a lot of time back.
Look how much he gained through the Casio Triangle as well. That gap was what, 1.1, 1.2 on the way into 130R. It's now down to 0.7. Such an extreme yo-yo effect. It's crazy. Did I see what I think I saw? I think I saw, Rob, that Robert Vuzzi was not far ahead of these guys as the final running driver. Well, in fact, he's behind them, so they're already having to deal with lap traffic. I'm not sure who that was then. Potentially Rosaire.
Could be.
Either way, they're not going to be quite there yet, but that a track like Suzuka, if you catch a back marker, let's say at the start of the snake, you're going to be losing a fair amount of time because it's going to be difficult to get around them. And especially for Stoffmüller, if he catches a back marker going up 8 in his Mustang, where he's already losing time, that could open the door for Gemeinhart and Dreisig to get right back on him. Under the bridge. At 1, 2, 3 on the line, but Gemeinhart looks like he's a bit closer than he has been the last few laps as Gemeinhart mega closes under brakes down to about a car length of the apex and opens it back up again on the exit. But Gemeinhart, he's catching, the gap is coming down. We could be seeing potentially the tires starting to drop off of the Mustang or Gemeinhart turning the wick up. Either way, this battle getting closer and closer. Gemeinhart uses so much track on the exit, really running out and using as much as he can to carry the speed that he's going to need to carry to stay with Mike Stoffmüller on these straights.
You can hear clearly here, it's not flat out through 130R. It's gaining a bit of time here under braking once again. Once that Mustang goes on the throttle, everything that he gained is gone. Certainly faster than Dreisig at the moment.
Dreisig seems to be struggling a bit, but he's doing a good
sorry
job
to
holding
interrupt
on.
you. Change for position here. Pavlicek up to P5. Caserta has been off.
Pavlicek marching on. Now making it 5 different marks in the top 5. You see, if that was just... I don't know. Is Gemeinhart going to be looking to try and just drive, at least stick his nose in somewhere in the snake? You know, that seems to be the best bet against that Mustang, is just to try and get it offline somehow. But Gemeinhart up the top of the snake. The Mustang not going to pull away as extremely as it did against Dreisig, but going to pull away nonetheless. But Gemeinhart is close enough. He's only 0.3. That's going to close right down on the braking for Degner 2. And here comes Gemeinhart. This could be a good chance if he can just brake late on the way up the inside of the hairpin. Stoffmüller tries to cover it. Does well. They're both going to run in deep. Stoffmüller's going to get the exit. Gemeinhart's going to go with him. Gemeinhart is definitely on the attack now.
Fastest car on track at the moment. Villamauro, he's catching back up again to Marius Dreisig, who's certainly struggling on his tires at the moment.
Villamauro gained about a second on even the leader Stoffmüller over the last 2 laps or so. So clear track in the McLaren. Definitely it's coming into his own. Gemeinhart, he's close enough that he can just launch one if he wants to try it. But he's thinking, you know, okay, I gotta outbrake the guy, but I gotta make the corner as well. So he can't go crazy with it. They're going down into the Casio Triangle. They're going to close right up. You see Gemeinhart carrying so much more speed through the middle part, but then just gets left behind now. when the Mustang finally gets up through the power range.
It's pretty solid Casio triangle from Stoffmehl. We saw last lap that Gemeinert was gaining plenty of time in the first sector. Oh, he's committed here. Stoffmehl super late on the brakes. I think he has to push a little bit harder than Gemeinert at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, Gemeinhardt's close enough now that Stoffmehl saw it on the last lap. Gemeinhardt could have had to go into the hairpin had he not covered it off. So he knows he needs to be stronger through the snake if he wants to stand a chance at being able to get through there without being attacked. But Gemeinhardt's driving up behind him despite that. So I think a good run through the Degners again, and Gemeinhardt could be in position to have another little look at taking the lead of this race. Sure enough, he gets a better run through Degner 1, closes right up at 2. Not quite as close, but that potentially lulls Stoffmehl into a sense of security, I wonder. Gemeinhardt looked like he eased up through that kink in order to take the extreme right-hand side. And there they are, there's a car ahead of them. I think that could be Atseni, maybe? It looked vaguely whitish ahead of them. But now on the run down to Spoon, Stoffmehl going to open that gap up, back up to 6/10. Then it's going to come all the way back down again. 6/10, 5/10, 4/10. About 3 car lengths, if that. And in behind, that's Caserta on the back of Pavlicek again. These two still battling. Caserta's had to gain about 6/10, 7/10 since we last checked on these guys to bring the fight back into being. They're still fighting hard over 5th and 6th place, with a bit of a gap behind them to Luca Scolari, who seems to have finally gotten into a piece of track on his own. Oh, that's Barrier. That's Valentin Barrier. I don't know where that even is. Is that on the outside of Spoon, Rob?
I think that's on the outside of Spoon, yes indeed. That has been a big impact. Must have lost it under braking, maybe braked on the grass there. Either way, big damage for the Frenchman, who has to come into the pits now, or is he retired from the race. Rizzo, meanwhile, has retired as well.
I think we saw that in their run through 130R between Rizzo and Croce, was it? Fiedler? No, I'm not sure who it was. But Rizzo out, Barrier.
I think it was Violent.
That looks like an absolute crunch. Yes, could have been Violent. Either way, Stoffmehl, Gemeinhardt 3/10 behind him as they get to the top of the snake, and the lapped car ahead of them.
It's Dennis Röser.
Indeed it is, in the BMW, as Stoffmehl runs wide. Gemeinhardt's right there. Stoffmehl's going to have to go defensive. I think this the back marker, they're going to catch him at a place that's going to help Stoffmehl, so it's going to give Stoffmehl the slipstream just to pull away from Gemeinhardt, and hopefully Rosaire is keeping an eye on his mirrors and on the flag, so he should know that the leaders are coming up to him, and he shouldn't be too much holding these guys up.
See if they can get past him before 130R, because otherwise he could actually hold them up quite a bit. Oh, Röser on the power there, getting into a slide.
He's going to be giving Stoffmehl a tow, but I think he's too late to let them by now. They're committed. Now he moves to the inside. He's going to let the 2 by.
Oh, I think he got in the way of Gemeinhardt a little bit.
Gemeinhardt got away with it. If they did, in behind, Caserta's back ahead of Pavlicek. Pavlicek on the outside, going to be run onto the grass. No. Caserta being very forceful, but still leaving just about a car's width for Pavlicek to get it slowed down. He's having a great fight. And even further back, that's Plachta on the defense against Stemporski. Attila Denaire in there as well, Croce. And these 4 battling over the final place in the top 10. There's a drive-through penalty I've seen just been coming out for GTR Iceman in 17th in the Porsche, so he's going to be losing some time soon. Then Porsche battling away up to 11th. As there's Jerome Violent getting past GTR Iceman, who's going to be coming in to serve his penalty. Ollie Behrendt with Marcus Royce, the recovering Marcus Royce on his tail. We saw Marcus Royce down earlier. Royce trying to go around the outside, but it's not going to happen. Ollie Barrett going to hold on to P18 still, as they've gotten past GTR Iceman. These two battling away, good to see. Just up ahead of them, this is Jens Fiedler. Seen him having some issues so far. See him back on the road. George De Werder ahead of him in the Z4. Behind, ahead of both of them is your main salesman. Your salesman battling up with Crocker earlier, and that's about 10 seconds. So, salesman definitely dropping back. And down towards the rear of the field, this is Hervé Freiter, I think, being overtaken by Antonio Armiento. I'm sorry, Rob, you might have to correct my pronunciation there, but Freiter trying to
I don't speak French. So.
And that's, who's that in the Mercedes behind them? Because that's that Atenzi.
I think that's Atzeni who's catching up quite a bit to them.
The timing screen bugged out on me for a minute and it said it was Caleb Lavender, but that doesn't look like an Audi to me, but it seems to be all back in order. Marco Atzeni in 24th, right behind these guys. So battles going on all throughout the field. So I think the closest one is probably the battle with Stankowski and co.
That looks fairly close. The Veda under pressure by Fiedler.
And so potentially Fiedler having nursing some damage on that car. We've seen it, you know, looking kind of weird under braking and under acceleration. So he's doing a great job to keep it going. Probably more laps he gets, the more he gets used to it. And Dorder ahead of him in the Z4 is providing a good bench for him at the moment. Fiedler looking, we've seen him back up higher than this, so he's going to have to look to get back up because something's going crazy with the timing screen with someone dropping in out. But here comes Fiedler around the outside on the way into the Casio Triangle. That's a brilliant overtake from Jens Fiedler. Kept it on track, gave Dorder the space, and that's pretty much the epitome of a perfect overtake. Now Fiedler just needs to stay ahead of the Z4 and start trucking on up the road after Jermaine Salesman.
We saw both drivers having a little bit of problems on the corner entry for 130R. Fiedler had to correct. The Veda actually ran wide in the corners. I think we lost that Zany here. Oh, heavy impact in 130R. Sorry, in the Casio Triangle.
He's gone straight on, look. That's unfortunate. Still going though. Got Spirit still set, still just under 80 minutes left. Still a long race to go as Marcus Royce back right under the rear wing of Ollie Barrett. Timing screen, I think it's Croce again making the timing screen go nuts. But these two battling over 18th and 19th position. Somebody in the pits,
yeah, that's Armiento and Atzeni as well. So the first pit stop's coming now. You're on a two-stop strategy, that's the perfect time to pit. Marcus Royce on the outside against Ollie Bernd. Nice pass, but I think Ollie Bernd also gave him a lot of room there.
Yeah, super defensive from Bernd. Royce just decided, you know what, you're going to go there, I'm just going to drive around you. Great pass from Royce. Got 5 seconds to make up to Jerome Weiland, but I don't think Ollie Berdt's done with him yet. Meanwhile, back to the lead. Mike Stoffmehl, 1.6 ahead of Sascha Gemeinhardt. So Stoffmehl starting to stretch his legs a bit as we're coming up into the pit stop window soon. So now we'll be seeing what that Mustang can do at the end of the stint. Meanwhile, after losing a few seconds, Villemaru seems to be back on the back of Marius Dreisig and seems to be the, if not the fastest, one of the fastest cars on the whole circuit right now is the Finn in the McLaren. So he's done a great job of coming back from whatever mistake or track limits he's had. Meanwhile, Gemeinhardt, that looked like track limits from him. He's definitely really slow. Dreisig's going to stick his nose in. Gemeinhardt's going to leave the room. They're going to be side by side on the way out the corner. Maru's going to just be in there. Gets a slight spin up of the rear tires. Gemeinhardt's going to pull ahead of Dreisig. Definitely put Gemeinhardt on notice. He's not safe anymore. And runs wide on the exit on the entry to Spoon. Is he going to make the second apex? Not really. Dreisig gets the line much better, but Gemeinhardt is using that grunt that the Mercedes has got on the Audi. The Audi staying with it in the slipstream, and in fact starting to inch closer as they come down to 130R. And all gains massive on the way in, but loses out on the way out. Under braking there, you can see even the McLaren gaining the on the Mercedes. And as on the run down, Gemeinhardt running a lot tighter to the pit entry than certainly Villemaro, who ran all the way out to the white line. But Dreisig there, 2 tenths only is the gap, and Audi stronger up the snake. Oh, and Gemeinhardt goes in way deep. Gemeinhardt off the track, up the inside goes Dreisig. Gemeinhardt's going to try and hang it on around the outside, and if he stays there, he's on the inside for the next turn. But he's not going to be able to stay there. Marius Dreisig up into second, as that is George Derwider ahead of him, I think, in the Z4.
Yeah, he must have made a mistake while we were watching this battle, because
or a pit stop.
Could have been a pit stop as well, but then it was a pretty quick pit stop. Either way, he's now right ahead of Marius Dreisig. Let's see if the German can go past the Belgian. And the Vader letting him through here.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
The Vader's got to let them all through.
And he did. Nice job there.
And good back marking from De Werder. He's been in the game a long time. Those
Oh, Gemeinhardt.
skills to him. Gemeinhardt, another slowdown in the same place as through with Villemaro. Gemeinhardt needs to start taking a bit more care through the Degners, as that's at the Denair in the pits. So that's the highest up driver we've seen pit so far. Jermaine Salesman also in there as well somewhere. And these guys pitting soon enough that they could be on the two-stop strategy, or they could be just trying to go for the undercut. We'll have to wait and see how they all play out. But back to Gemeinhardt. Starting to maybe see a bit of the red mist. He's made the same mistake 2 laps running. Needs to get his head back in the game, this Gemeinhardt. Got the podium sitters right in front of him, and I think that's battling back markers behind, or is that Catersa trying to get through them? Not sure. I think it could be Rosaire and Armino behind. Yeah, there's Caserta starting to pull away from Pavlicek right now.
Yeah, it's actually Röser and Ariento battling for P24.
So these guys are both pitted, so it's a legit fight. Armiento looking to try and go down the inside. There's someone coming out the pits ahead of them. That's Jermaine Salesman, who's going to be right into this battle as well. Rosaire going to hold it round the outside of Antonio Armiento, but Armiento stays there. He's going to be up the inside. Good move from the Italian. Going to hold the position to 24th for Antonio Armiento. Jermaine Salesman pitted out of 14th place ahead of him, so potentially these guys still in with a good shout at a top 10 finish, despite the fact that they are running at present down in 24th, 25th place.
Yeah, it's good performance here from Armiento, catching back up after I think he also had some problems at the start of the race. Like Stoffmeal, all this slowdown, all this battling there, this helped him. 3.5 seconds ahead of Marius Dreisig at the moment.
He's starting to get back markers between them as well, as I think that's Attila Denair. Actually, I think
Yeah,
Rosa's a bit further back.
Must have been Denair, because Röser is still in the battle with Armiento.
So now the only the top 20 on the lead lap as it stands. Here's Weiland. He's actually being caught rapidly by Jens Fiedler. So Fiedler's still on the march.
It looked like Weiland repassed Fiedler for a brief moment on my timing screen. Not sure what happened there. Also got Kevin de Vogt and Romain Lippens in a battle, 2 drivers that we haven't really seen at all in this race so far. Kevin de Vogt was off the track in the first corner, hovering nicely up to P18 now with Romain Lippens in the grey Mercedes ahead of him.
Then you alluded to previously, you know, the 2-stop pit window. De Vogt and Lippens, I don't believe, have been into the pits yet. So either these guys are on a 1-stop, or they're going to be running, you know, later than everybody else. So it could all ebb and flow back into these guys being up in 17th and 18th position-wise, if the guys that have already pitted are indeed on the 2-stop, as their pit timing would lead you to believe. But De Vogt really not content, really pushing the back of Romain Lippens. Again, you can see the strength of the Mercedes and against the McLaren. Mid-engine slightly slower on the straights, but quicker in the turns is it's going to be the McLaren. whereas the Mercedes got a bit of extra ballast. So it's leading to a pretty interesting battle here. And the Vogt is going to be running up in the slipstream all the way down to 130R, and we've seen moves coming out of the 130R between the Mercedes and the McLaren, so could the Vogt be another one to try it into the Casio triangle?
Doesn't look like he's quite close enough at the moment, but he gained a lot of time there. Doesn't risk it. Under braking, the McLaren is not as strong as you would maybe expect it to be. He's not quite close enough now, but still plenty of time in the race. 70 minutes remaining. We've got the next battle coming up. That's Stankowski versus Crocker. Actually, there's a big train around Stankowski. Figoni in front of him, then Stankowski in the blue car, Crocker in the KFC Audi. And I'm not sure what this Mercedes... Yeah, must be Atzeni who's a lap down.
I'll say, I'm not sure if I'm thinking this right, but I look at that car, I just think lollipop. But no, it's Atzeni, the only one of the lollipop cars behind these guys. But Stankowski, Figoni have been pretty much inseparable the whole race. We checked on these guys about 20 minutes ago, and they were in a fat train then, and they are now with the recovering Crocker all the way up to 11th now. Black Audi could be featuring in the top 10 before too long, unless Figoni has something much to say about that. Stankowski very experienced. Gonna know
very
what
wild
what
as
he
well
needs to
in
do.
this corner. And with the Mercedes, we've seen it so often that a lot of drivers seem to prefer the handling of this car. And for a GT3 car, it's very, very oversteery, actually. Which is good. You can set very fast lap times on it. It's the fastest car on the leaderboard probably these days. In the race, a lot of drivers are being caught out by the oversteery handling. We've seen this time and time again. And yeah, Mercedes went into this race with a lot of promise. At the moment, the best car though, only in P4 after Gemeinhardt picked up the slowdown penalties.
But yeah, Gemeinhardt seems to be really... I don't know if he's picked up a bit more, or if he's just struggling on tires or something. He's lost 3.5 seconds to Villemaro, so I think that fight for the moment is over. We'll have to see if he can come back into it late in the race. But Stankowski definitely is looking more like he's needing to defend from Crocker. I think that's there's that Saini going off in the background. Sure enough, it is. But the body of Crocker definitely seems to be the guy on the march right now. Certainly out of those three, he's less than 3/10 apart from Stankowski.
Oh, Stankowski! That was a very wild moment once again. And also at the front of the field, Reisig has gained a lot of time on Stockman. So maybe now it's the time for the Audis again, where they find some grip at the end of the stint. Because both Crocker and Reisig are going very fast at the moment.
Well, and Violent pulling away from Fiedler, so stands to reason almost pretty much all the Audis are gaining on their rivals, as Crocker looking very early. Ooh, I thought about what he was maybe thinking about launching one then, but maybe just that idea in Stankowski's head, say, hey, you know, I could do this, maybe I will next time, and then Stankowski might have to defend, and Stankowski then loses time. So it's all a mental game, a lot of this stuff right now. There's still over an hour to go, so any move you make now is not necessarily going to win you the race, but if you can get inside another driver's head, you know, make them think, hey, you know, I might stick my nose in here, then that driver's going to be considering that whenever you're anywhere near them.
Yeah, especially now the pit stops for the one-stop cars are also coming up pretty soon. So it's maybe not as important right now to really get the position. It's more important to get the mental edge on your opponent for the end of the race. As I think, even after the pit stop, late on the brakes by Crocker here, I think they will all do the same thing in the pit stop, change all 4 tires and refuel a little bit. So I think they will come out of the pits close to each other as well.
Certainly everyone that's still going at least should be, we'd imagine, planning the one stop. We have had a few other pitters. Armiento pitted from out of the middle of the field and kind of made my timing screen go nuts for a minute. Caleb Lavender's up into P20 now, but Reisig going in and out of a second behind Stockman, so that gap's come down about a second in the last lap and a half. So potentially Stockman having not the best of luck with back markers. We can see Attila Denaire back ahead of him, actually, I believe that is.
Yeah, Denaire is
went off.
Denaire is the fastest car that has pitted, and because of the new tires, he's probably faster right now. than Stoffmüller is.
Ah, yeah, you're right. Of course, nothing preventing these drivers from unlapping themselves. They do go a lap down, and we saw Nair did go a lap down, but back ahead of Stoffmüller, and this is what we can see the Mustang coming to the end of its stint. Maybe that's why he lost so much time, because he was busy being overtaken. But Dreissig going to be seeing that, going to be seeing how he got overtaken, and might not be able to compete with the grip level of Denair, but certainly has seen the way to go to get ahead of Stoffmüller again. Meanwhile, Stoffmüller just getting a draft. Cheeky draft as if the Mustang needed it. Going to be pulling away back up to over 2 seconds clear of Dreissig by the time they get to turn 1.
Let's see how much time Marius Dreissig can gain here in the first sector on Stoffmüller. 1.9 now at the moment. I would expect it to go down to something like 1.5.
That's 1.7, 1.6 already, maybe even 1.3 by the end of the time they get up there. 1.54. 1.4. 1.3. Yes, it was 1.3 at the end of the snake. I got it right. But Dreissig having to work his tires that much harder to get the extra speed up the snake, but could potentially have slightly better condition, slightly lighter car, the Audi, slightly better balance with the mid-engine. He's running right out to the limits. You can tell he's pushing. Sure enough, Stoffmüller is getting bigger and bigger in our picture. And it's not as if he's being held up by Denair, because Denair's just checking out on his fresh rubber. Meanwhile, behind Dreissig, Villemaru's lost about a second, maybe more. But it seems like it's just going to be these two for the lead right now. Stoffmüller and Dreissig. Gap ebbing and flowing between 1.3 and 2 seconds. But which one of them is going to blink first and go into the pits? If I was Dreissig, you know, perfect way to pass the Mustang would be to undercut it. Villemaru. Who's that behind him? That's
De Vader.
De Vader. Sorry, for a minute there I was looking for the other Mustang because I saw it was a black car. There's no other Mustang. But Villemaru or someone like that, if looking at Denair and looking at how he's pulling away, Denair's personal best lap of the race is nearly 1.6 slower than Stoffmüller, but Denair is pulling away like it's nothing. So if I was someone like a Villemaru or a Marius Dreissig, I'd go in for an undercut. As Crocker at the inside, he's made a mistake. He's been caught by Plachta. Oh no, that's not even Plachta, that's Violent. But Plachta's got past. Crocker pit. He's not lost anywhere near that much time.
No, he must have made a mistake there. Now in the battle with Violent and Fiedler. I don't remember who it was that helped Fiedler around. It might have been Crocker. It could have been Scalari as well. He was definitely helped around a little bit by an Italian in the hairpin.
If memory serves, it was 3 of them going into it, or 3 of them on the apex together with Fiedler at a really funny angle. But Crocker up in, or down to 12th. You know, Plachta makes the move to P11 and way up ahead of these. So Plachta's looking in solid form right now. Meanwhile, the gap between Stoffmüller and Dreissig, that's down to 0.8 only as they come into the hairpin as they're flying into shot. We're 3 minutes away from halfway. If I'm Marius Dreissig, you go for the undercut, surely, right? At this point?
Yeah, I think it makes the most sense because he will have a hard time overtaking Stoffmüller. In any case, because of the lower top speed of his car. But
right.
Now it's almost a half-time distance here, so I would assume Stoffmüller could also come in at the end of the lap.
If you're Stoffmüller, if you pit on the same lap as Dreissig and Villemaru, I think that you're, that's the optimal time for the race leader. But Dreissig and Maru potentially need a lap or 2 earlier. Certainly, maybe 2 laps for Maru, 1 lap for Dreissig on fresh rubber ahead of Stoffmüller. And that
Stoffmüller's coming in.
Stoffmüller, that's very tight. Stoffmüller pits. Okay, so Dreissig going for that cut, by the looks of it. Did Maru follow him in? Do we know?
I think yes.
Villemaru in as well. Okay. The 2 of the top 3 blink at the same time. They both go in with 1 hour and No, that's 1 minute and 40. The timing's messed up again. Pavlicek is going to go around. He's going to take 4th. So Dreisig stays out. Meinhardt stays out. Caserta stays out. Pavlicek and Scolari both stay out.
Pavlicek actually lost a lot of time on Caserta. 10 seconds back.
Indeed, he did. So that's to me either multiple mistakes or one big one, which we've missed. Ortner's going to go ahead of them as well. Oh no, Ortner I think is actually in the pits as well. So Ortner in the pits, same lap. As Crocer's been off again. He's behind Weiland and Fiedler. Meanwhile, Stoffmehl coming back out on track. Stemporski's gone by. Where's Stoffmehl going to come back in? And this is going to be critical. If Stoffmehl gets into this battle with Weiland and co, this is going to really help us. Fiedler in the pits in the background. As through goes Weiland. That's big. If Stoffmehl now can't, like, he's got the top end, but he's going to lose out up the snake behind Weiland. And this is going to be key. Dreisig's going to need to put in some absolute heaters now, or at least one absolute heater, and get in the pits at the end of this lap. And hope that Weiland can slow Stoffmehl enough. And of course, they're on the same lap. Weiland has no obligation to get out of his way. So this is going to be have to be a proper battle between the Audi and the Mustang.
Mauro lost a lot of time in the pit stop. It's over 7 seconds to get between him and Stoffmehl after the stop. There was certainly less before. A fast pit stop for the Mustang.
Potentially only a 2-tire stop, Rob, or is that not really possible?
No, I think that's not possible. I think he just has to refuel maybe a little bit less. Oh, now he's already looking against Weiland, but Weiland doesn't have to yield. It's a fight for position. That's costing Stoffmehl a bit of time here.
There's Dreisig gone round again. I think he might have done.
He's into the pits as
well.
well.
Oh, Dreisig in. So there goes Fiedler. We saw Fiedler pulling in just as Stoffmehl was coming out, and Stoffmehl's still behind as they get to Spoon. He's gonna chuck it down the inside. Gonna need to. Oh, look at this. Weiland looking to be quite cheeky, trying to cut back. Stoffmehl's gonna run wide, but I think he's just gonna use to be able to recover it with the grunt. But one lap, Stoffmehl was held up on fresh rubber. Pavlicek, Meinhardt also in the pits. So all top 4 of our race leaders are now at their pit stop out of the way, or are doing it right now.
And there's another yellow Audi ahead of Stoffmehl. He will be sick of it. And Dreisig, of course, in his yellow Audi will come out of the pits pretty soon. Let's see if he will jump Stoffmehl or if Stoffmehl is going to retain the lead of the race. I think he's still stationary. I think that's a big lead for Stoffmehl. Dreisig's just getting going now. He lost a lot of time.
Was Dreisig going to fall back to Villamaro? And through goes Villamaro, actually. So that must have been... Either they've made the same mistake, or that was a absolute peach of a pit stop from Mike Stoffmehl, and he must have just got it right slap bang on. So maybe those guys took some safety fuel and Stoffmehl didn't. Maybe they were a bit less brave on the pit entry and Stoffmehl wasn't. You know, it's all sorts of things. But either way, Mike Stoffmehl has now come away with about 5 seconds to these guys, and with a car of your own Weiland in between them. And we've seen already Weiland isn't gonna give up. He's gonna fight the fight, even though he still has to pit. So that's key for Mike Stoffmehl, and now he's already on the back of Mirko Bakta. So the third of the blue and yellow Audis in 3 laps to be battling with Mike Stoffmehl.
He lost a lot of time, but Sascha Gemeinhardt lost even more time.
He lost like 10 seconds compared to Villamaro. Still relatively safe from Pavlicek in behind, so Gemeinhardt looking relatively okay in that 4th position, but gonna need to put in a shift to get back up as Marcelo Caserta pits from the lead and hands the lead over now to Luca Scolari. Stoffmehl right on the back of Plachta now, and he's going to just draft, or not even draft, he's just going to grunt past on the way to 130R with the fresh rubber. He can afford to take a slightly tighter line, but through goes the Mustang up into 4th on the road. Going to be 3rd at least by the time they go by the pit lane, because Caserta is currently stationary. And then it's only going to be Luca Scolari and Thomas Stemporski still to pit ahead of him, and then Stoffmehl's going to be back into the lead of the race.
Worst case scenario for Dreisig here. Behind Mauro.
And behind Weiland as well. You see Violent's going around again. He's going long. He's going for the overcut. So Violent's going to be one to keep an eye out for at the very end of the race. So he's going to have better tires than everybody else. But for the time being, Violent's just going to be losing time hand over fist. Going to be in a fight with those guys. Serta coming out of the pits. E9. Still going to be ahead of Pavlicek. Not by quite as much. So Pavlicek gaining with that 2-3 lap undercut. Racing now right there. There's 3 cars almost as one, as Violent just doesn't have the rubber left, and sure enough he's gonna wiggle from Violent. He's gonna fight the fight. Always great to see. But Villamaro's been caught out side by side between Maro and Dreisig. Dreisig gives him space to cut back in, and Maro's gonna try and a tighter exit out of Dagger 2. Not gonna do it. Violent doing a game here in the Audi. But Maro, ooh, almost into the back of him, able to exit tighter. Violent staying ahead. This must be frustrating Villamaro, Marius Dreisig so much, because it's, you know, just playing into the hands of Mike Stoffmeal. These guys still battling for second and third, we think, though, because Sasha Gemeinhardt's still 12 seconds back, as Maru's going to be up the inside. This could be big if Maru gets by and Dreisig doesn't. But they're just going to railroad him. Maru up the inside, open the door for Dreisig. Dreisig's now going to be on the inside, but Maru toe to Violent. And Violent, like he's easing off. No, he's easing off. He dropped back a bit, maybe he missed a shift, but Violent going to try and go on the outside. Not going to hang out, but Marius Dreisig through. Villamaru got about a second gap by getting by, so that's actually pretty big for the moment from Villamaru. As Stoffmeal passes Stemporski, as Stemporski goes down the pit lane. Following us, one of the Audis, I think.
It's Lavender, I think.
Caleb Lavender in for a second stop already. As Stemporski out of the way of Stoffmeal. Now Stoffmeal 37 seconds behind Luca Scalari for the race lead. Meanwhile, this is battle for 14th. Jermaine Salesman, who's been in that position pretty much every time we've looked in P14. Now defending off Eros Figoni, the Italian, looking to get up the inside as Salesman runs a bit wide. And Figoni with a slight overlap, maybe. Maybe he's got the shorter line down to 130R, and sure enough, he just goes straight through Salesman, potentially slowing down. And Figoni up to 14th, setting off after George de Werder.
Yeah,
Attila Denaire, by the way, up to 12th after most of the pit stops, as Stemporski in and Violent in. So Denaire up into the top 10, actually.
Yeah, it goes past both of them. I don't think De Veda and Salesman were in the pits either, because Figoni was definitely in the top 10 earlier on in the race.
Well, we saw De Weider drop all the way down. I reckon De Weider's pitted.
Very hard here. Villamauro against Mirko Plachta, the next of the yellow and blue Audis. And that's all helping Stoffmeal, who's got almost a 10-second gap over Mauro now.
I'll say, yeah, this race is definitely in Stoff's ballpark as it stands, but Villamaru looking to get past Plachta and waste no time. Oh, Plachta's
that's a
fighting
bit
it,
naughty there, cutting him off.
And Villamaru clearly flashing the lights, not happy. Got a reason to be unhappy with that. Could have been done over a little bit, but Plachta still going. Scalari pits from the lead. So he's going to be out of the way of these guys. And up the inside, Villamaru not taking any prisoners this time. And you're through into third on track, going to be second. Did the two Audis come together? I think they did. Dreisig's going to drive past Plachta. He's going to head down the pit lane. Potentially Plachta in the wrong place and having to ease off to get to the other side of the road. But new race leader once again, Mike Stoffmeal. Second place is going to be Villamaru. Third is going to be Marius Dreisig. And eventually Sasha Gemeinhardt's going to head up into fourth place again. So we're going to have the same drivers back at the front as we had before the pit stop phase.
Yes, but we certainly have a very different gap here between Stoffmeal and the second place car, which is now Mauro instead of Dreisig. Because Dreisig was right on the back of Stoffmeal. Lost a lot of time in the pit stop.
I think they all did except for Stoffmeal. He's pulled out nearly 10 seconds on Villamaru, nearly 20 seconds on Sasha Gemeinhardt. And yeah, that's... I don't know what he's done with that Mustang, but the pit crew must have ate their Weetabix this morning. Meanwhile, Attila Denaire, he's up into P8 now after Plachta and Scolari pits, and I think that is everybody through the first round of pit stops. Unfortunately, we're down to only 24 runners, I think, unless that's saying he's in the pits as well.
Yeah, I think
But the
Wutzi is
leader-
also still running. He's just coming
Oh.
out of the pits now.
There he goes. Fortunately, car in the pits looks the same as the DNF car on the timing screen, but see right next to Jorg Ortner, and Wutzi does a good job of easing off and allowing the Italian to go ahead. Or at least I think that was Ortner. It could have been Armiento.
Scolari lost a lot of time. Oh, and he's retired. Something must have gone wrong at the pit stop there. Scolari out of the race.
That's not good. We're over halfway as timing screen's going nuts. Somebody's off the track. That was De Werder, I think, as we just caught it in the camera angle. And yeah, sure enough, George De Werder in the Z4, dropping all the way down to 18th behind Marcus Royce.
He's missing the front bumper. He's got a lot of understeer now.
Probably front splitter gone as well, then if he's missing the bumper. That's not good for De Werder. He's probably going to have to take another visit to the pit lane. Ollie Bern's behind him. That's not Ollie Bern, that's Atsani, I think, on the road behind him. De Werder struggling in the Z4. Meanwhile, the closest battle on track, still second and third. Villemaru versus Marius Dreisig. I think these two are going to be locked in internal warfare for the better part of the next 50 minutes to see who comes out on top. But I think these guys are starting to show that they could be battling for second rather than the race lead. Although Villemaru did just gain over a second in the last couple of corners, or in the last turn there, so potentially Stoffmeal with traffic or a small mistake. But I think that's going to be what it's going to need to take, as Villemaru and Dreisig closing under braking.
Fastest lap of the race by Marius Dreisig, 2 minutes and 4.
So he's really turning the wick up his Dreisig. We saw he dropped a lot of time to Maro when they were going through the other blue and yellow Audis. But Dreisig starting to push hard at the start of this stint. He's on, I think he's on 1 lap fresher tires than Villemaru, if my memory is correct. So he's got the rubber advantage as well as the pace advantage as it stands. Meanwhile, De Werder is to get it back to the pits, so he's going to fall all the way back down to the back. Hopefully he keeps going, because there's still a good chance of a top 20 finish here if he can get a good pit stop. Meanwhile, Dreisig within half a second now with the draft.
Just got the info from GTR Iceman that he unfortunately disconnected from the race as well. That's why we don't see his Porsche anymore, so both Porsches out of the race.
That is unfortunate. Obviously, connection failures are the mechanical failures of the sim racing world. As Stankowski passes Armien, I think, or was he defending? I think he was defending from Armiento. But certainly the intent is there between the two Mercedes drivers to switch positions. And Gianclaudio Croce, once again in the background of a fight and gaining. Seems to be what he's been doing all race, just gaining on fights. Stankowski having run as high as second through the pit window, back in 13th. And Armiento on a possible 2-stop strategy. We don't know, he did pit very early, but the conflicting rubber ages here are giving the edge to Stankowski, and sure enough he's ahead and starting to open up a little bit of a gap. Another fight that's dead close that we did look at earlier, Romain Lippens versus Kevin De Vogt. They're battling now over 19th and 20th, and that fight's still quite close. Lippens still ahead. You can see there the Mercedes just stretching that gap out a little bit on the run down to 130R. That's a fight that seems to be kept going. But the fight for second place is that's coming down and down, less than 6/10 now, and Dreisig's closing. Lippens runs a little bit wide.
Crocker has gone past Armiento.
Looked like it happened in turn 1, so potentially Armiento running wide to have lost that much time. Maybe launched a move at Stankowski that didn't work. We'll never know. But what we do know is Crocker got by. He's up into 14th in the Audi that's probably changed positions more times than any other car in this race.
Yeah, he certainly had a very eventful race. Quite as eventful for Marius 30, but still, he's got the biggest task ahead of him now in this race, getting past Wiesenmüller.
So we saw Mauro at the start of the race just kind of taking it easy and then pouncing on opportunities. We haven't seen this race what he's been like having to defend, and Dreisig's done an awful lot of attack in this race. It'll be interesting to see who stays ahead of out of these two, but they're floating around the 9-second mark behind Mike Stoffmehl. So a mistake or so from Stoffmehl, who I notice has actually equaled Marius Dreisig's fastest lap to the 1,000th of a second. So the top two fastest laps of the race, both 2 minutes .492. And let's go into Dreisig and Stoffmehl as Mara run wide.
That's Dreisig through.
Now we see Mara closing right back in mid-corner. That's so easy to do, just to get a little bit wide into Degner 2. Just have to eat too much curb or even gravel trap if you get it a bit wrong. It's Maru now behind Dreisig. And we see once again a yellow and blue Audi on the defense. This time it's Marius Dreisig again, as Wiesenmüller just closes up in the middle of Spoon. You can see the mid-corner speed of that McLaren is absolutely fantastic against the Audi. But then the Audi seems to be able to outrun something on the way down to 130R.
Oh, very fast 130R for Mauro. Under braking, the Audi should be a little bit better.
Ooh,
it's
a bit too much curb on the way in. I think Dreisig got too much curb on the way in. As here's a overtake. This is that the Voigt?
Yeah, the Voigt against Lippens.
Through goes the Dutchman on the Frenchman. Like we said, that fight was going to be interesting earlier. And they've got Herr Freteur winning from behind them in the man filter car. So he should maybe be seeing a three-way duel here. And speaking of blue and yellow Audis, Jerome Violland, he's back in another fight. He's between Armiento and Royce, and Armiento runs deep. Through goes Jerome Violland up into 15th. Armiento's got the run on him though. Marcus Royce is just biding his time in the blue Mercedes. Violland covering the inside from Armiento. Armiento runs deep actually. You're gonna need to get it in for the second apex. Sure enough, he does. The best run through of all of them was Royce, so they're gonna close up all three of them. Crotches up ahead. Violent trying to break the draft, moving a little bit on the straight. Armiento's gonna get a faster run through 130R, gonna run a bit wide. And under braking for the Casio triangle, it's gonna be Royce closing up. Ooh, bit fast through the middle part from Armiento. He's gonna lose a lot on the way out. Violent gonna sprint away in the Audi, moving, try and break the toe. Here comes Royce. Don't think anything's gonna happen on the way into turn 1. And I believe, is that Georg Ortner coming up behind these guys to put a lap on them? Nope, must be another AMG that looks the same. Possibly Wurtzy or so then. Indeed, I think it was Wurtzy. Maybe he's run wide here. But the fight's still on. This is now Mirko Plachta against Jermaine Salesman, who's up into 11th after the round of pit stops. So a good improvement from the Dutch driver. But Mirko Plachta, we've seen he likes to fight ready. He's going to look left, he's going to look right. Going to try and unsettle Salesman. Going to make him think a move is coming. Sure enough, Plachta closes under brakes. They both missed the apex. Stankowski behind them, closing in because he's not in a fight. Meanwhile, that's Royce up the inside of Armiento. They're side by side. Armiento's got the run and he's got the third line. But Royce definitely skid in there. Definitely looking to get ahead of Armiento. As on the run down to Spoon. Armiento stays ahead, but not by much. The same car evenly matched. Plact is now alongside Salesman as they come down towards 130R. He's on the inside as well, so he's got the preferred line, but backs out of it to not risk going too wide. But that's going to give Stankowski a big run on both of them into the Casio triangle. I have to look to get the run out, and he missed the middle eight. Here comes Stankowski. This has gone now from Platt trying to overtake, making a failed attempt, and now he's under heavy attack with Stankowski. He's trying to defend, move left and right, trying to stay in the slipstream for all he's worth. Brakes a lot later, but he's going to run wide. Here comes Stankowski up the inside, and I think Plakta stayed on the curb, so no slowdown there, but Stankowski got a great run through turns 1 and 2, and now Robbie's right on the back of Salesman.
Yeah, Salesman, a bit lucky for a few corners there. I'm still not sure if he really was in the pits. So he certainly looks like he's struggling a little bit on the pace compared to the cars around him. And Stankowski looking aggressive as we know him on the inside now. That could be a great pass there. The Romanian. Got a long inside corner here. He should just be able to get ahead, and I think Salesman is braking there. Letting both of them through. Very difficult position there on the inside. Stankowski up to P11. And on his way maybe for a potential top 10 finish.
Salesman went deep off track. He's going to now be under attack by Crocker in the background, but Stankowski up to 11, but Plakta certainly going to be back in the attack. But when we were discussing this pre-race, Rob, the concept of a no-stop didn't even really occur to us, so Salesman's doing something that even we didn't think of potentially.
Yeah.
But this battle for seconds still on.
Didn't occur to me because I'm pretty sure it doesn't work. I think you will run out of fuel if you attempt a no-stop strategy. Either way, we will see how Salesman will do in the rest of the race. We were asked, when's the next special event going to be? We cannot say that yet, but I think it's going to be a little bit different next time, something with Formula cars perhaps, because they are not being raced so often on RaceRoom in these official events. Always GT3, and while GT3 are great, sometimes you need to do something else, so we're looking towards a Formula special event coming up next. To be announced probably in a few, I don't know, in a few weeks I guess. As Crocker, once again, in the middle of a battle here with Jermaine Salesman, who's really struggling now.
Hey, was Salesman maybe one of the guys that pitted super early? Because maybe, I don't know, is it smart that he takes the tires all the way and just does a early splash and dash or something? Because that could explain why he seems to be struggling so much for grip at this point.
Yeah, but there's still 37 minutes to go, so if he's struggling for grip now, then that's not good news for the rest of the race. Either way, we will keep an eye out.
If he's committed to it, it'll probably work out quicker than pitting at a late stage, so sometimes committing to a bad idea is better than changing. But he's now going to be having Violent close in behind him. Crocker now in probably the quietest he's been for most of the race. He's got a fight in front of him, a fight behind him, and he just sat in the middle in the KFC Audi. So here's Violent now on the attack of Salesman.
I mean, there's a lot of yellow and blue Audis in this race, but you can always tell which one is Violent. With this massive dent in the front.
He's clearly been in the wars of that car a little bit. Salesman's in his in the way now, struggling to hold it to the apex of Spoon, and yet that's going to be game, set, match. I think, oh, Salesman making a bit of contact, doing everything he can to defend his position. Got slight straight line speed edge in front of him. Salesman, even though he might be struggling, still fighting the fight. Violence still right behind him now, and then closing in on these guys both is Marcus Royce. Royce making a third quarter charge, it seems.
Salesman into the pits. So his strategy did not pay out.
Ooh, someone else has followed him in. Is that Armiento?
Yes, indeed.
We thought these guys might be two-stopping. Guess it's confirmed now, at least for Armiento. Villamaru, 3/10 behind Marius Dreisig now. These guys still locked together.
And in a way that's helping Stoffmüller, of course, because they are fighting. I think sometimes Dreisig has to take a defensive line. And Stoffmüller now 11 seconds in the lead. It's even managed to extend the gap.
Both these guys both missed second apex of turn 1, but yeah, Stoffmüller, again the gap's yo-yoing. It goes down to about 9.5 seconds, back up to 11, back down to 9.5, back up to 11, 12, something like that. So I guess it just depends on which lap Stoffmüller potentially just traffic or something. Because we've got Frature also in the pit lane, so at least 3 drivers going for that 2-stop strategy. Ollie Berndt now on the back of Mirko Plachta. Again, another fight with another blue and yellow Audi. But Ollie Berndt has actually done really well. He's qualified down low. We've seen him battling outside the top 20, but here he is now challenging for a place in the top 15. So he's had a good but quiet run through the pit stop cycle.
Yeah, I think this is his approach to these races as well, to drive a solid pace and just try not to make any mistakes. And this way he's just gaining places every time he's racing here. Ahead of the Vogt and Lippens by now. Looking a little bit quicker than Plachta at the moment.
Yeah, Plachta potentially, I don't know, he's one of the last to pit, so in theory he should have one of the faster cars at the moment, but either way is maybe he made a mistake or something. Berndt still right on.
That was a bit of a mistake by Ollie. Out of the chicane. Car behind him, that should be Robert Wutzi, who's a lap down.
I don't think Wutzi's going to be putting too much pressure on to try and get through and past. 45 seconds behind the nearest car, but behind those guys coming up is Mike Stoffmüller. You can see there Kevin de Voigt behind him. Stoffmüller into turn 1 again. Now he just needs to treat this as a real kind of, you know, not quite a test session, but he doesn't need for like 10th anymore. Does Mike Stoffmüller just needs to focus, hitting his marks, not making mistakes, and try and maybe catch traffic at preferable times. So if it helps to lose half a second so that you don't catch the guy going up the snake and instead just drive past him on the top, maybe he needs to think about doing that.
If you like these events, make sure to tune in tomorrow as well. The second round of the esports WTCR Oscar from the Slovakia ring. Actually 4 races coming up that we stream. Server 2 with Nils Langefeld, the real WTCR driver, and then server 1 starting at 17:45 European time, and you can watch it on the Twitch channel of RaceRoom and the YouTube channel of the FIA WTCR. But either way, back to the race here. Jens Fiedler, closest battle on track actually. Well, actually Salesman is an even closer battle, but still pretty close battle. P9, Fiedler and Figoni.
The Salesman into the pits, or has he just dropped either way? Salesman back in the pit lane, unfortunately, but as we were on board, there's Frature also back in the pit lane, so no idea what's up with those guys. But as you had the camera on Fiedler, there's a bit of a 3-way duel here coming out. It's Attila versus Ergos Figoni versus Jens Fiedler, and these 3 I don't think we've seen on track together all race, and then their strategies have all aligned that they end up here now. So very interesting. Fiedler battling on after some early race mishaps. Figoni just running consistently, and Attila Denaire with a crazy undercut that seems to have jumped him up from maybe, what was it, like 20th place or so, all the way up to P8. So evidently he's making it work.
Oh, drive-through penalty for Salesman for speeding in the pit lane, so he's gonna come in again.
That's not what you want to hear.
Dina has a bit of a high ping.
It's not been too bad from Denaire. I mean, when the other drivers get slightly closer to him, that could become a bit of an issue. But I'm sure the involved's gonna be sensible enough to make it work. As Denaire running a slightly different line, he looks like he's giving up a lot on the way in to gain some on the way out. So must be working for the BMW. Not the best car through the corners of the selection. And that hairpin probably his weakest section on the entire circuit. But Denair, slightly different line to account for that, and he's going to run wide in Spoon. Figoni's going to run quicker through, and now we could see Figoni potentially lining up to make a challenge. Only 0.4 of a second between these guys as they're on the run down to 130R. Just a quick note on that battle for second is actually Villemaru, who's either made a mistake or had a slowdown or something. He's now 5 seconds off of Marius Dreisig. The Dreisig's now got the hammer down to see if he can catch Mike Stoffmeal. But Figoni right up behind Denair in the Casio triangle. Fiedler's there as well. We can see every now and again in the rearview mirror. So Denair's early undercut could potentially be leaving him with a poor rubber situation as it stands, and could be under threat from Figoni before too much longer. If they're going to cut the snake, Figoni's going to run in real hot. Pretty much perfect line from Figoni, and look at that gap. He just gained a 10th as Figoni in that one corner just from getting it right. Now up the snake, which could potentially be weak for that BMW as he disappears. Both myself and Rob raced a bit on this game. We've seen the outcome of people having a bit of a jump. It's not usually very good, so hopefully that gets sorted for Attila Denair. But for the time being, these three all closing up, less than a second separating them, or about a second, 1.2.
Talking of gaps, oh, what happened to Figoni?
I'd imagine a slowdown going.
That was a big
in that
slowdown.
pace.
And I suspect also a slowdown for Mauro, because he's 4.5 seconds behind Dreisig now, and that was a lot closer just a few laps ago.
Look at Dreisig, by the way. He's now down to 8 seconds, the gap between Dreisig and Stoffmeal. So I don't know if the fact that Mauro's made a mistake has given Dreisig the clear air or what's happened. But Dreisig starting to bring the gap down now against Mike Stoffmeal. So we could see a late race charge. And that would be interesting come the end of the race. Dreisig's got slightly newer tires than Stoffmeal does, so come down to the last 5 minutes or so, that could play a factor. Either way, looks like a clear track for him. But back to this battle for 8, it's now Denair from Jens Fiedler. Hopping on board, looking over the rear wing of the BMW.
Attila Denair looking for a team, you can see it there on the name display. Maybe someone can pick him up after the strong race here, running in the top 10. At the moment, Jens Fiedler is looking a little bit stronger.
Yeah, Fiedler closes right back in, but you know, if you're looking for a team, Attila Denair is bringing out a good application, saying, "Hey, look what I can do," or "Look what I can do all by myself. What could I do with a team back in?" But right now, Fiedler all over the back of him, going up the snake, and Denair not quite on it on the way out, but that could be due to the worst rubber. Fiedler's got the run. Don't think he's going to try anything to Degner 1, but potentially break early. See if Denair runs wide, get under him for 2. Nope. Fiedler goes quick into Degner 2, but Denair's going to get the run through. So Denair maybe not really caring so much about getting every corner perfect, just as long as he can hold his momentum. This seems to be working for him. As Fiedler goes in deep, tries to get underneath on the way out. It's not going to work, and you can see Aras Figoni starting to close the gap back on these guys within 3 seconds now. Is the Italian.
That could be a good opportunity for Fiedler. I think Ortner's ahead of Pavlicek as well. We'll jump to that in a moment. Oh, Pavlicek disconnected.
Oh no, it's not good. You never want to see that. Pavlicek was running really well in the home stages in the final quarter of the race, but here's Denair. We're going to go defensive against Fiedler. Denair doing a brilliant job at holding off Fiedler. We suspected potentially some damage on Fiedler earlier. Might have got it fixed in the pit stop, but for now, Attila Denair, it seems like he's just driving his line. He's like, I'll drive where I want to drive. Now he's going big on the defense. This is the first proper defensive move we've seen. Fiedler's going to have to go around the outside. Oh, Denair across the other side of the track. They're braking for turn 1. Denaire is going to pull away. As long as he makes the second apex, sure enough he does. All is fine. Fiedler's still all over the back of him.
Oh, and Pavlicek is back.
That's good to see. Good to see that he's returned. Hopefully that issue has been recovered, but Pavlicek lost only 1 place from that, so slightly fortunate for him. Lost 15 seconds against Denaire, but that's the gap's still 30 seconds or so. And meanwhile, there's another good fight going on. Once again, Gian-Claudio Croce is having to defend, this time from Royce and Jerome Weiland. So this is a fight with Croce in it, the blue and yellow Audi. They're going to be one to watch soon. But Fiedler now within 3/10 of Denaire. I think that's the fight to watch as it stands. As they're coming on the run up to the hairpin. Denaire's just got this defensive line down pat. Fiedler's going to have to go out and around him, which Denaire's just driving at his pace. Fiedler's going to have to try something, and yeah, Fiedler, he could get to the outside there. He's got the inside for Spoon, so it's a good place to try. But Denaire's going to brake on a different line. Pagani 2.5 seconds, so he's closed in half a second in the last lap or so. Denaire going defensive now on their way up to 130R. And move back across to the racing line. Fiedler's still behind. I think Fiedler might need to catch Denaire by surprise at this point. Denaire knows where he's got to go, what marks he's got to hit. Fiedler's got to maybe try something a bit out of the box. Sure enough, closing in the middle of the triangle. Royce right behind Croce. That got down to a 10. But Royce off through 130R. Croce with a slightly better run. That gap started to ignite again. Fights just inside and just outside of the top 10. Looking at the gap, just comparing times between Pavlicek and Denaire. Denaire lost 2 seconds on Pavlicek that last lap.
I think the interesting gap is the one here between Fiedler and Figoni, because Figoni is actually catching both of them at this stage of the race. Fiedler just can't find a way through. It's also difficult against the BMW. This is also quite fast on the straights. I think his best chance would be into the hairpin. Oh, and Dina. Is he coming back? Yes, back again. And also, that doesn't help Fiedler, of course. Because he doesn't really know how hard he has to push. Now the leg is getting quite bad for Dina.
Yeah, it's something you never want to see. Obviously, if you're Fiedler, you're aware he's going and coming back, so you know he's probably going to come back somewhere when next time he disappears, so you're going to always have that in the back of your mind. The gap now down, Figoni seconds back from Denaire now, as Fiedler's got the run. Speaking of runs, Marcus Royce looking up the inside of Croce, and he's going to do it. Croce, I think, anticipated him to overshoot, but Royce nailed it perfectly. Marcus Royce up to 12th. Croce now on the defense from Jerome Weiland. There's the pass. No, it's not. That's the timing screen. Timing screen lied to me. Denaire staying ahead of Fiedler. But Denaire, he's just driving his own pace, I think. As I said, the gap to Pavlicek is 2 seconds a lap between to Denaire. He's just, just holding off Fiedler. And Fiedler's forced to drive at Denaire's pace. And, that's all you need to do if you're Attila Denaire. Just hold on to this speed, this position for 20 more minutes, and you've got a top 8 finish.
Yeah, but I think Figoni is going to join the battle pretty soon. Maybe Stankowski as well, who's running faster than all of them at this stage.
Yeah, but again, if you're Denaire, you can just back just back them up. Fiedler can't get by you, then force Figoni to fight Fiedler. And then the pressure comes off of you slightly. Pretty fun tactic to try and employ, and Denaire certainly seems to be on the slower side of things, but playing the strategy game absolutely perfectly in this race. He's up P8, just driving along at his own pace, forcing the drivers, in this case Jens Fiedler, to go out and round him, and Fiedler not quite able to do it. Denaire just in the right place at the right time every time. As the lead gap, Rob, is now down another 1.5 seconds, so Dreisig You know, down to almost 7 seconds now.
Yeah, 30 is flying at the moment. Very strong for the Audis. Okay, and Violent also. In a close battle here. Well, there's the
As
move.
here comes Violent.
Oh, and there's the next yellow and blue Audi already. In the background, that's Mirko Plachter.
I say, Crotcher's made the same mistake 2 laps in a row now into the hairpin. He just left the door open. But hopefully it's something he can coin onto, or else he's going to be sitting duck. As through goes Violent, up into Spoon. Not taking any chances there was your own Violent at 13th. And now Crotcher is under heavy pressure already from Plachter, who gained about a second on these guys in the last couple of corners.
Plachter pitted very late, so he's got very good tires now.
So I think he later than all the drivers he's around. I think the only later pitter was Caserta maybe.
Stankowski also pitted really late.
Indeed, Stankowski out of second place. And that's probably how he's gotten so fast. He's actually down to a second behind Fagoni, but I think that's Fagoni made a mistake just up the road from these guys. Fiedler still on the back of Denaire. He's all over him like a cheap suit, but. You know, at this point, Denaire, he's probably seen Fiedler try a few things. He knows where Fiedler's strong against him, so he knows where he needs to defend and where he can just run his lines, like up the snake, just running his lines, not really bothered about Fiedler. On the way down to the Degners, you know, he knows Fiedler's going to gain, but not by enough necessarily. And then it's just out of the second Degner is where he needs to start, you know, being a bit concerned, as Fiedler closes up big time.
Yeah, I think what Fiedler hasn't really found yet is, you know, a way of changing his lines slightly so he can get a better run out of the corners. Because it seems at the moment he mostly gets a better run into the corners than gets blocked in the corners. So maybe there's something he could do with just switching his lines up a little bit, just confusing Dina with the lines that he's taken. Because there's still 18 minutes to go and he's going to have the faster car for the remaining 18 minutes. But at some point he has to watch out in the rearview mirror. I think Fagoni is actually losing time compared to them, but Stankowski is not.
I think Fagoni made a big mistake a few laps ago, and ever since then he started coming back and he got to about 6 seconds off of these guys. Now he's down to 4.8. Stankowski is going to catch him before he catches Fiedler, which could help both Fiedler and Denaire.
Oh, Fiedler wide in the corner. Once again, Dina lagging. Doesn't make it easier for Fiedler. Lots of curb on the inside. And another slowdown for Fiedler there.
That's one that's just a little bit sloppy, but now he's gotten back. He can get the run up to Denaire again, and could try something when he gets there. But Plachter, you know, here's a fight between Crotcher and a blue and yellow Audi. This is basically the sum of this race, basically. And Plachter now on the attack. Less than a quarter of a second, closing in on the slipstream. Don't know if he's actually going to try it or if he's just making Crotcher think about it, but sticks with it through turn 1 to try and get up underneath. Not quite going to make it happen. Coming up the snake. Now he's going to need to be quite brave or force Crotcher into a mistake to get him up the snake.
Oh, he made a mistake himself!
And well to keep that out of the hole there did Mirko Plachter, but he's going to lose a lot of time. Ollie Berndt 12 seconds back, so I don't think he's in a... Oh, but that's not good.
Too much power with the grass on the tires. That's the leader. I actually wanted to jump to 30 because...
Ooh, 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, the gap is really small now.
That says to me Stoffmill either got a slow down, went off, or caught a back marker badly, because Dreisig caught 3 seconds in about 5 minutes. And at that rate, he's definitely gonna catch Stoffmill. But look at the army of Audis right there. In fact, no, that was Dreisig. I thought that was Violent and Plachter, but no, it was Plachter and Dreisig. So now less than 3 seconds is the gap. This could get very interesting again. Mike Stoffmill on slightly older tires. I think only 1 lap is the difference between the tires of the Ford and the tires of the Audi. But of course, the Ford gained massive in the pits, so we're still not sure what he's done. I mean, we reckon 4 tires each, but that sort of gain is crazy.
Dina has finally been passed by Fiedler in the hairpin, in the Casio triangle. Fiedler up to P8. Dina flashing his lights. Maybe there was a bit of contact.
I'll say still a game job from Daenerys, and his entertaining race is still not over. You can see Fagoni and then behind Fagoni Stankowski both in the same shot. So I'd imagine Daenerys is gonna have to be on the defensive again before too much longer, unless he can repass Fiedler, which, you know, I think Fiedler probably's got their tires at this point, but we'll have to wait and see. Coming up the snake, you know, it looks like Daenerys is able to run tighter. I think that's Fiedler maybe now. He knows he's got clear air, trying to push just a little too hard to get away, but he's eking that gap out. He's now up to 6/10. Good run through the Degners will help his cause there, but runs a bit deep on Degner 1, and then Daenerys closes big on Degner 2.
Oh,
I don't think that's over yet.
Mauro disconnected, I think.
Oh no. That's not good. Oh, no.
Oh, he was back, and he's gone again.
Oh, I thought for a minute that was Mauro, but it's De Voigt.
Mauro out of the race.
That's horrible for Villemaru. He was looking on for a solid top 3 position, but the connection genie's not quite holding up. That's put Sasha Gemeinhardt back up on the podium. Still pushing hard, even though he's yeah, through goes Kevin De Voigt. Gemeinhardt just really seems to be overdriving right now, as Fiedler and Daenerys side by side almost, it looked like on the timing screen. Fiedler staying ahead. Fiedler now 40 seconds behind Pavlicek. That just shows how much these guys were slowing down by battling. Pretty crazy. Then Violent. We can't go more than 2 minutes without seeing a blue and yellow Audi in a fight. It's Violent, and Royce has, I believe, caught and passed him? No, Violent has caught Royce. The Royce hanging on to 11th, Violent behind in 12th. You can see Croce there, ever present. As Royce goes quicker through the first turn, but he's going to run out wide. Could this be a chance for Violent? No, Royce carries the momentum around the outside, doesn't try and sweep back in. And now up the snake, the Audi's going to be all sorts of all over the back of the Mercedes. So you can see the big dent, as Rob was alluding to earlier, that can't be doing that Audi any good. It's been on there for a long time now. As here they come, Violent gets the run out, but Royce covers. Into Degner 1. Royce goes hard in, but keeps it on the exit. Same with Degner 2. Gap is up just a hair at 3/10. And here comes the Audi. No, I think he just made Royce think about it. He's Royce out from the apex. Gonna have to rely on the run out, and he gets it. But Violent certainly not giving up this fight, as we're down into the final quarter of an hour. Only 12 minutes and change left of this race, which is about 6 more laps. And the gap to the lead is only 3 seconds between Mike Stoffmehl and Marius Dreisig.
Yes, and we saw it in the first, and especially in the end, the Audi gets a little bit quicker than the Mustang. So this could get close at the end of the race. Such a shame for Villemaru. After a good performance, briefly running in 2nd place, fastest McLaren now all of the race. That's a shame, but at least he proved that the McLaren can be competitive. It's a car that we usually don't see in these special events, so nice performance by him regardless. Unfortunately, not going to cross the line here at the end of this race.
That's mega unfortunate, but it has knocked everybody up a beast, and Violent looking to try and make it another one. Now down, the straight's just not quite long enough for Violent to get up in that slipstream and alongside Royce, so Royce is going to stay in the lead into turn 1. I think Violent's going to need to do something special at this point if he's going to get by. The gap closing And the gap between Royce and Stankowski, not huge, but he is coming up just a little bit. But looking up ahead, Attila Denaire, he's not being caught by Fagoni or Stankowski anywhere near as fast as we thought earlier, so that could be that for P8. But this battle for P11 is what we're focusing on right now. Violent gonna need to get the run out of some of these corners, and Royce nailing the line pretty much perfect, not giving Violent a chance to get the run on him. Violent's going to close right up under braking yet again. On the way out of the corner, Royce going to stretch the legs of the Mercedes. Violent's going to need to rely quite heavily on the slipstream, I think, and then try and surprise Royce with a move in a heavy braking zone. And look how much he closes. He's right on the rear end of him already. If he can get the run through second part of Spoon, and look at that, Royce slightly washing wide, but Violent gets a snap of oversteer, has to correct, and is going to lose the advantage he would have got by Royce running slightly wide. But here they go, running down to 130R again. Nothing doing between these two. Royce stays ahead. But Violent's close enough that even
mistake.
Just like
That was too
he
deep.
goes in deep. Here comes Violent, he's going to try and switch back underneath him. He goes into the slipstream. Now, here we go, whichever side Royce goes. You know, the outside line of turn 1 is a good opportunity, the inside's a good opportunity, so damned if you do, damned if you don't. But Violent just going to stay in the slipstream. Royce goes deep. Ooh, Royce goes very deep. But he's going to make it count. He gets it back for the second apex and gets the run out. Good driving from Royce. Here we go, this lead battle now down to 2.6 across the line between Stoffmehl and Dreisig. And Dreisig now has the snake coming up where it's going to gain maybe up to half a second on the Mustang. This gap is coming down, but is it coming down quickly enough? We've got probably 5 laps to go, so if he comes down half a second a lap, they're going to be right on each other. And sure enough though, you can see Stoffmehl just getting bigger and bigger up the snake, and then he's just going to drive away when they get to the top. Down to 2.0 is the gap. So definitely not over yet is this race.
Oh, almost loses it there. That was a very wide line. They still gain time overall on Stoffmehl.
Microphone hot.
I think the overcut now really coming into its own, because that gap seems to just be coming down at a far greater rate than we've seen in the stint. For car differences, this could be rubber for rubber as well. Now up, and just as they get to in the middle of the Mustang strong points, the Mustang ran wide ahead. Stoffmehl, I think he avoided a slowdown, but he definitely ran wide as they're on the run down to 130R, which is the strongest part of the track for the Mustang. I'm not sure if they've got clear track. No, that's one of the Audis. I think that's Caleb Lavender just ahead. So Stoffmehl needs to clear the American as quick as he can, but actually no, it's not Caleb Lavender. It could be Robert Wutzi, or it was a black and red car for sure. But here's Stoffmehl.
Ah, it's the KFC car. That's Gianfranco Crocker. Or is it?
Yes, it is. Was Crotch has made a small mistake, but Stoffmehl's a ways back yet, so no need to worry him. But 2.0 at the line, so Dreisig's now going to gain a little bit as they come up the snake. I think Crotch is the only car in that piece of track, so they shouldn't have too much problem with any back markers. As you can see, we're on board the rear wing of Jean-Claude Crochet. You can just see pulling away from that Mustang until the straights, and then the Mustang just roars into view, and you can actually see Dreisig in behind as well. Dreisig's getting super close now. The gap 1.5. This is coming down. This is buzzer beater time. 6 minutes on the clock. So 3 laps at the line, and Dreisig's going to go a bit deep on the way into the hairpin. We'll give Stoffmehl a couple more tenths to play with. This is the fight. You see there coming down towards Spoon. Stoffmeal in the lead. Croce ahead of him on track. Potentially a factor. And then the fresher rubber digging behind us. Here's Stemporski. Stemporski is caught. Figoni. They're side by side. Stemporski ahead. Stemporski into 9th. So another purveyor of the overcut, Thomas Stemporski on the fresher rubber against Ergos Figoni. Figoni not giving up without a fight, but Stemporski I think is going to start pulling away and start reeling in Attila Denaire. That's another fight to watch, the extreme undercut versus the big overcut. But the fight for the lead, back up to 2 seconds now, just as we're at the end of the Mustang strong point. So here we go, back on board with Gian Claudio Croce over the rear wing. You can just see how much Mustang is just going to roar into view. It's insane. 1.9 at the line. And this now start, I think maybe that gap's about halved between Stoffmeal and Croce. Here on board with Marius Dreisig. 1.8 at the start of the snake, could be about 1.3 at the top of it. If Dreisig hits all his marks, this is going to get really tense. Going to have to be a real buzzer beater move, I reckon. But of course, we saw in the entire first how difficult that Mustang was to pass. The Dreisig, potentially with fresher rubber, he's got to catch him and pass him in the next, I think it's 2.5 laps, I believe the timer will allow for. So it's coming right down to crunch time as the gap now less than 1.5 seconds.
Should be 2.5 more laps. Let's see if Crocker getting out of the way. Yes, he's letting. Oh, that's a big mistake there from Dreisig. Maybe a bit too optimistic there.
I think that could be key as well, because Croce, it looked like, was gearing up to let them both by, and Dreisig made a bit of a mess of the hairpin. And as a result, Stoffmeal got ahead of Croce, Dreisig didn't. Although now Dreisig's going to have a slipstream on the run down to 130R that he can use, so maybe it's not as bad as it initially seemed. But Stoffmeal now has some clear track ahead of him to work with, so he's going to need to start putting in some absolute zingers to try and keep Marius Dreisig's fresher, tired Audi at bay. You can see even on the run down to 130, that Mustang's not pulling away as much as it used to. As there goes Croce getting out of the way. Through the chicane. And despite that big mistake from Dreisig, I think he's going to close over the whole lap by a tenth or so. As at the line again, 1.9 seconds is the gap. The Dreisig, by that big mistake, the gap stays about the same. Into turn 1 next time by. Stoffmeal now, he's probably going to start feeling it, going to see the time coming down. Going to know he's going to need to be doubly sure for hitting his marks. But Dreisig is guy on the run at, here we go, 2 seconds at the start of the snake. Going up, you can just see the Mustang getting bigger and bigger. 1.7, 1.6 as they get to the top. Now if Dreisig doesn't make a meal of that hairpin, it could be 2 or 3 more tenths done by the end of the lap. You got 2 minutes to go, so half a lap, and then 1 more full lap, and that's all it's going to be, so Dreisig's going to need to get a shift on. Stoffmeal on the run up to the hairpin. Mustang not great on the brakes. Going to be on older rubber, so it's going to have everything working against it. Except for track position, 1.5 at the hairpin, so Dreisig's got to move. Now we're into Mustang territory. On the run down to Spoon, the Mustang's going to ease away just a little bit. 1.7 at Spoon, but Dreisig's going to gain through Spoon. And then we're going to have Stoffmeal pulling away again on the run down to 130. And the difference in the tyre, in fact, yeah, Dreisig down to 1.5. He's got Croce hanging on to him as well. There's fights going on in the mid-pack. Figoni coming back at Stemporski. And this isn't actually that far ahead of the leaders. There's all Figoni's off. Figoni in the wall. Now that's big. That's through goes Violent, I think that is. And Figoni now is going to drop back, and he is going to have to let the leaders through. And Stoffmeal offline. Doesn't get to run cleanly through the Casio triangle, but is ahead of Figoni now. Now Dreisig 1.3 is the gap at the line. 7/10 it came down that time by. But now Dreisig is going to have to clear by Fagoni at some point soon, or else it's not gonna happen. As Stoffmehl onto the final lap of the race in the Mustang. He's going to be leading up the snake as Fagoni looked like he ran wide. Is he going to let Dreisig through?
I think he's stuck behind him there a little bit. Because in this section the Audi usually gains a lot of time. You can see him flashing the lights, not happy with that. He's not gaining as much as he usually gains here. Because of that Mercedes in the middle of the battle.
A really unfortunate timing for when they caught, or when Fagoni made the, I don't know if it was his error or if it was Stankowski or what, but either way, Fagoni taking too long to let Dreisig through in Dreisig's mind. The gap now 1 second, but they're back in Mustang territory. They do have another car up the road, but I think it's a bit too far away to make any difference. But Dreisig's going to have to pull something special out, I reckon, in this final half lap. But Mike Stoffmehl has the track position and the car advantage for this section of the circuit. Gap under a second now. Did briefly go down to as little as 0.9 before the Mustang got into its groove. Into Spoon yet again. Stoffmehl, he's got only a few more corners to get right. Dreisig's going to need to pray for a mistake. And sure enough, Dreisig absolutely nails the run through Spoon. Gap down to 0.8. That's going to give him some slight slipstream from the Mustang. Not going to be enough to hold on to it, but not going to be allowing the Mustang's usual pull away through 130R. Stoffmehl gets it right. Dreisig going for all he's going for broke. But into the Casio Triangle, Stoffmehl is going to stay in the lead. First section, second section, round the final corner. Mike Stoffmehl, that's a brilliant performance. Going to take the win in the Mustang of all cars. Well done, Mike Stoffmehl. Dreisig with a game run through into second. Oh, Rob, that got loose.
Congratulations to Stoffmehl and Dreisig for a fantastic race. Just watching the remaining battle here between Stankowski and Royce, as Stankowski has gone way off the circuit. Just rejoins ahead of Royce, but he's off the circuit again. Oh! That's a hard impact.
Through goes Weiland as well, so Weiland's now right on the
I think Stankowski is out. This car's not moving anymore, so drama on the final lap for Thomas Stankowski. We've got more finishers though. Third position, Sascha Gemeinhardt. Underdog Racing's driver with a nice solid performance. Maybe not quite as close to the leaders as he would have hoped for, but still a good job. Caserta's gonna get the 4th place in the end. Nice job by him. Good quiet race. And Georg Ortner about to cross the line in P5.
Georg, relatively quiet second half of the race for the Italian, but cross line in P5. P6 behind him, Matthias Pavlicek. A bit gutted for losing about 30 seconds or so that he lost in the mid-race with some weird connection thing, but either way he came back and managed to finish in 6th place. And then we're going to have to wait a little while for our next group of finishers, but 7th place is going to most likely go to Jens Fiedler, unless unless a serious mistake or fatal technical error. But Fiedler's done well to recover up to P7. He was barely inside the top 20 early on. Looked like he was really struggling, so a good run through. And then behind him in P8, I would probably say the one of the drivers of the day contender, Attila Diner, in 8th in the BMW.
There's Diner. Made his strategy work. Also had to fight with the bad connection at times here. He still did a very solid performance. P8, good job. Maybe that will help him find the team finally. Marcus Royce, after the scary moment with Stankowski, finishing in the top 10. P9 in the end. And Jerome Weiland rounding out the top 10 in another Audi. Here we've got the finishing order. Stoffmehl fastest lap, but exactly the same lap time set by Marius Dreisig. There we go. Mustang wins ahead of Audi, ahead of Mercedes at the 2-hour special event at Suzuka in the top server. Let's see the remaining finishers. Vigoni 11th, Crocker in 12th, then Plachta, Olli Bernd, Kevin de Vogt, then Lippens, Amiento, Lavender, De Veda, Wutzi and Fredure, rounding out the field of cars that have finished. Mauro with the unfortunate disconnect after running on the podium for a long time. Trav had a disconnect. Stankowski out on the final lap. Mazzeni, Salesman, Scalari, Eisman, Röser, Barrier, Rizzo, Benedek, Adams and Baika also not making it. to the finish of the race. So yeah, Mike, that was quite a race.
Yeah, that was. Honestly, by 40 minutes to go, I thought, oh yeah, no, this is easy. You know, the Mustang's gonna take the win. It's gonna be great. You know, woo Mustang. But then just the recovery drive was insane from Dreisig. He so nearly got it, and I think it wasn't for that one mistake at the hairpin and the unfortunate timing that they caught. I think it was it Figoni that they caught?
Yeah, I think it was Figoni.
If it wasn't for those two things, maybe it goes the other way. But man, that was so close. So great job from both of them actually.
So if you liked what you saw today, don't forget to tune in tomorrow for Esports WTCR Round 2 at the Slovakia ring, starting at 17:45 Central European summertime. But actually 4 races coming up, 2 races with the real WTCR driver Nils Langefeld, who's racing in Server 2, and then the Server 1 race with all the big names from the RaceRoom esports competitions. Got Jack Keithley leading the championship there ahead of Ben Spunky. So that's a race you shouldn't miss on the YouTube channel of the FIA WTCR and on our Twitch channel. In terms of the special event, I would like to say thanks a lot, Mike, for commentating with me this time.
No problem. Been an absolute blast.
And infos about the next special events are going to be released in approximately 2 weeks. Expect maybe a little bit with Formula cars for a change. A lot of GT3 races. Of course, we've got the GT Masters esports competition. There will be a new competition announced on Monday as well. So you have to check it out at game.raceroom.com/competitions. So lots of stuff coming up on RaceRoom. I hope you stay loyal. I hope you tune in next time when we're back live. So this is it from our side. Have a nice evening and goodbye.
Who is going to take the spoils? We are about to find out as we are racing into turn 1. Contact between the two. 3 wide into turn 3. Sideways Doyden. Still contact happening through turn number 2. What a great bit of deft touch of the wheel that was. He's gone from the inside and he's taken the lead.